We're proud to bring you this live presentation on Racer TV of the 50th anniversary of the Progressive Grand National Cross Country Series, presented by Specialized, an AMA National Championship. 50 years of world premier off-road racing. 50 years of battling the gnarliest woods racing on the planet. It's time to start a new chapter. The next 50 years starts now.
Talladega Superspeedway plays host to the fastest car racing in the world on a regular weekend. Today, GNCC Racing invades the Alabama woods for bar-banging, two-wheeled racing action. The fastest off-road racers in the world are here and ready to battle. The Talladega GNCC is up next on RacerTV.com.
Are you ready to go GNCC Racing? Craig DeLong, Johnny Gerard, mano y mano.
I think if Johnny can maybe send it around the outside like he's trying to do there.
Look at that. That is a full XC1
Is this a NASCAR race?
Absolutely a sensational. When things get tough, look out for Jordan Ashburn.
Racing dirt bikes, it's a lifestyle. It's something where every single choice you make sets you on the path to how you're going to succeed or perform. You live this every second of the day.
Stu hauling the mail.
Stu is one of the most gritty riders out there.
There is Gerard. Johnny Gerard, he has been stellar. Most wins on the season out of anybody.
Nick DeFeo also has a 50-some-odd second advantage. He is nearing upwards of a minute and a half in the lead.
Are you kidding me? T-Rex, the 246. Nick DeFeo, you're going down in the GNCC history books, man.
I just like riding my dirt bike. Johnny out front, Caleb pushing as hard as he can.
This is everything they have, sprint pace.
That was a battle.
That was a hell of a ride by both of those men.
3 hours is a long time. 3 hours of racing is gnarly.
I know I can show up and I know I can win on any given week.
50 years of racing GNCC. It has been a historical season, even before it started, for the fact that it has been 50 years. But Johnny, man, a new location, Talladega, Alabama, man, this is as cool as it gets. And I can't help but think, you look back 50 years, the Blackwater 100, where we started it all. You fast forward to today, Big Dave would just be blown away that we're at a place like Talladega racing a GNCC.
Absolutely. You know, many years ago, you would pull into a GNCC, you had a few pickup trucks, maybe a couple people had some open three-rail trailers with some dirt bikes and ATVs on it. Now you pull in, and we have nearly filled out the auxiliary parking at Talladega Superspeedway. I mean, what a statement to how far GNCC racing has come between the participants, the racers, the fans, and obviously the organization. To be at a facility of this scale is just mind-blowing, and it speaks volumes about all the hard work that's been put in and how passionate people are about GNCC racing.
That's it. I mean, this place is as grassroots racing as it gets. The town embraces it. It's got a small town feel. It is a small town, but the racing is huge. And then on the kind of satire side of things, you can't talk Talladega without talking Talladega Nights with Will Ferrell, and, you know, the guys have done a great job this weekend. The staff, the announcers, Zach and Jackson, we'll see some stuff on that later. Stu Baylor and his team really leaning into it. They've done some great social media content. The bikes look good. Like, it's time to shake and bake, baby.
Yeah, Ricky Bobby, the ballad of Ricky Bobby, Talladega Nights, you know, it really has been embraced by all the competitors and the staff here, and it's made for a very fun weekend of racing so far, and only going to continue today.
Well, we talk real racing, serious racing. We go back just a short week ago to the sands of Florida, and Johnny, that one was just incredible to watch. We've seen it many, many times in Florida. That's one where you have to leave it all out on the track, and Johnny Gerard did just that.
Absolutely. I mean, you want to talk about a battle for the ages. I think many years from now, we will still be talking about the battle that came down to the wire, essentially, between last year's champion and an eventual race winner, Johnny Gerard, and the returning 8-time champion, Caleb Russell. I think Caleb Russell kind of served notice at this one that he's in the fight, he's in the mix, and ran it right down to the end. But Johnny Gerard ultimately just able to dig deep and close that one out at the end. And Ben Kelly inserting himself into that battle Hill at several points, kind of having a crash there late that dropped him back a little bit. But, man, I mean, that was such an exciting race to call. And we saw those guys just continuing. Every time you would think that they had kind of gone as fast as they could go, Johnny would push the pace, Caleb would push the pace, and they just pushed each other. And again, Ben Kelly with them throughout much of the race, away from the rest of the field. And at the end, it ultimately came down to a two-rider shootout that was phenomenal to watch.
It was incredible to watch, and we actually had a chance to catch up with the winner, a man who needed a win after a dismal round number 1 at the Big Buck GNCC. We caught up with Johnny Girard.
It's cool to battle Caleb. Obviously, never really raced him before, so yeah, kind of just was riding behind him the first couple laps, and he had a good, comfortable pace, and we were up towards the front, so it was cool, and kind of just stalked him a little bit, and he ran into a lapper, got around him. He got around me in my first pit, and then he had the pit halfway through the race there. I got around him and put a charge in, and told myself a little gap because I knew I didn't want him to get around me in the second pit, and kind of just was kind of doing my own thing there the last, I guess, 2 or 3 laps, and kind of ran out of fuel in the body. I had a little mishap and missed half my lunch before the race, so that wasn't too smart, and ended up, he caught me a little bit the last lap and a half. I think Ben was catching him, so he was pushing him, and Caleb was pushing, and I think they got to around 14 seconds or so, and then I put in a little, a sprint or whatever you want to call it, used up the rest of my energy, and ended up tucking the front end right after the FMF split section there, and it came down to, I think, 8 seconds or so at the finish line, but glad I had that little bit of gap to make a mistake, and used it up, but it was a good race and gnarly race, and definitely used all my energy out there.
All right, so we got to hear from Johnny Girard again, a much-needed win for him, Johnny, but kind of like last year, Johnny Girard was really focused on the long game, and, hey, wins are awesome. I want to make sure I'm on the podium every race. Ben Kelly, a similar start to his season this year. He is the points leader coming into today, but I think Ben, he wants that win. He needs that win. That's the confidence he's looking for.
Well, again, like you mentioned, Johnny Girard needing those 30 points after not scoring any points in round 1. Ben Kelly coming in as the XC1 points leader into round 2, and then that podium finish putting him atop the overall standings there with a 2-point lead. So those two coming from different places, headed the same direction. If Ben Kelly can get himself a win, suddenly it's, not only are they both getting close to the top of the points, they both got to win, and we know those wins are big momentum.
That's it. And we actually had a chance to catch up with Ben Kelly prior to today's race.
I'm pumped to, be leading the overall and have the white plates on my bike, and I plan to keep it that way. I don't have a big lead now. I just want to keep growing that, keep being consistently on the podium, but I want to win. I want to win more than anything. So I'm going to really try to get the win here this weekend in Talladega. It's going to be tough. Like I said, I smashed up my hand at Florida, so I'm, dealing with that. It's going to be a hard race, but excited to get out there, get after it. No excuses, just tough it out. And like I said, it's going to be, being at a new venue is sick. I already pedaled the track once. It's going to be tight. It's going to be rooty. It's going to be, I think the whole pack's going to be pretty close together on a track like this because there's nothing crazy to separate you. It's a lot of the same. But I think it's going to be a challenging track. So just try to get a good start and get out front early, not make that mistake like I did in Florida, and fight for a win.
Well, love the focus and the determination from Ben Kelly coming out of that interview, man. And Johnny, I wouldn't expect anything less from a guy like Ben Kelly, who has held that number 1 plate in the XC1 before.
Yes, not only has held the number 1 plate, but has had some serious momentum at points in his career. 6 straight wins to start the 2022 season. Prior to that injury, this was going to be the Ben Kelly show. He hasn't really gotten back to that, although he was in the fight a few times. This is the first time we've seen him with the points lead and getting some momentum on his side, and we know how important that momentum can be.
It absolutely is. Hey, another guy with a lot of momentum coming into today's race, Caleb Russell. Obviously, a lot of question marks about KR coming into the season. Big Buck, it was an anomaly for all of the riders. We go to Florida, comes off the track, the man looked like he had another lap in him, Johnny, and a second-place finish to boot.
Absolutely. I think Caleb sets a pretty high bar for himself. A lot of people had questions. He made statements that he wasn't coming back just to ride around.
Yeah.
And the performance that he put in just 7 days ago in the sands of Florida, I think made a big statement that he is here to try to win races, and this is his next best opportunity.
It's a scary, scary man right there in KR. Well, Talladega, we can't express it enough. We're stoked to be here. It's been a sensational weekend all around racing. We've got NASCAR coming up at Talladega Super Speedway late next month in April, or mid-month, I should say. But this weekend, it's been all about the GNCC. They have welcomed us with open arms. And, of course, on Friday night, we had the World of Outlaws just across the street. We had a bunch of folks from GNCC head over there and check that out. So it is a race-rich community. But we've done enough bench racing. We want to see what our riders are going to face today as far as a course is concerned. So for that, we'll throw it to Jackson Burrell, who stands by with Jared Bolton for a Yamaha Racing track description.
All right, thanks, guys. We're down here with our trail boss, Jared Bolton. Jared, we're finally here in beautiful Talladega. Take us through it.
Man, I'm telling you, you look out here at the Super Speedway, you think, oh, we're going to be flying wide open, but that couldn't be further from the truth here. This track's actually, it's all brand new, it's fresh cut, it's super tight. The quad guys, man, they're going to be struggling for some passing opportunities. They're going to be blowing through some spots, making their own lines. And then the bike guys, they're going to make it easy on those boys. You know, they're going to have some single track too, but a little more open for them, still tight overall. It's going to be a really good track.
Hey, Jared, first time that we're here at the facility, what do you think is going to be some of the harder parts of this facility?
So, of course, we've got the Intimidator section for the bike. You had to pay that tribute to a NASCAR great. And for the quad guys, it's going to be the whole thing. There's nothing gnarly about the racetrack. It's just going to be really hard to find those passing opportunities. Those guys are going to have to work hard. And it's real twisty. So they're going to be working hard the whole time. They're going to get around about the 7-mile mark, and they're going to feel like this. I'm tired of turning. But they're in for a workout.
All right, guys, there's a glimpse of the track from the trail boss. Back up to you.
All right, thank you, Jackson and Jared, for that Yamaha Racing track description from this Talladega Raceway facility. Going to be some great action out there. An old school feel. We've got some rain coming down. We know the conditions are going to be wet. We're going to let Mikey Waynes head out and get some 10-second calls off while the rest of these riders get ready to go. We'll be back with all of the racing live on Racer TV after this.
Everywhere but the seat. The seat is leather.
Alan, we get it. You love your bike. We do too.
That's why we're America's #1 motorcycle insurer.
But do you have to wedge it into everything?
What? I don't do that. This reminds me of my bike. The Wolf was about the size of my new motorcycle. Have you seen it, by the way? Happy birthday, Grandma!
Really?
Look how the brushstrokes follow the line of the gas tank.
Hey!
Hey! Brought my +1. Jamie.
Every generation believes they've invented the best way. With age comes wisdom. We've come to realize that every piece of knowledge is learned, passed down from those generous and patient enough to teach.
Take a look.
Legacy. It's not about leaving something behind to be remembered by. It's realizing that the future lies within the next generation.
Let's call it a night. All right.
The nature of true progress is humbly building something bigger than yourself. Rocky Mountain ATV MC. This is our legacy.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive,
Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized e-turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Landon McFadden wrapping up our live singing of the national anthem. And with that wrapped up now, we are just about ready to roll. But first, we want to meet our starting row for the XC1 Pro class. And let's see, Big John, are you over there? There you go, I see you. Do you have paperwork, Big John? No paperwork? No paper? Okay, I got you. My bad. Be right back, I'm hustling. Round number 3 of the 2025 Progressive Grand National Cross Country Racing Series, presented by Specialized here. And we are just about ready to roll. Now we're getting close. I'm on my way, man. I'm on my way. Little rain delay for us here. Wouldn't be a GNCC without a little bit of rain. That's all right. We're still going to send it. Overall, Talladega GNCC has been pretty darn good to us. All good, all good. So there's your paperwork, Big John. I'll let you get situated, and we'll be ready to roll. So let Big John make his way over to the 530 of Ben Kelly, and we'll start to get things underway here. Introduce our starting rows here at the Talladega GNCC, round number 3. All right, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, that was for you, Don Hampton. Rolling to the line in accordance to points coming into today. Up first, the 530. Rider out of Connecticut, aboard the FMF Factory Racing KTM, Ben Kelly. Making some last-second adjustments there on the goggles. All right, we'll try that again. Rolling to the there he goes. The 530 of Ben Kelly. Up next, the 557. Out of Boonville, North Carolina, aboard the AM Pro Yamaha, Caleb Russell. Up next, the number 1 out of Boonville, North Carolina, aboard the FMF Factory Racing KTM, Johnny Gerard. Up next, the 178 rider out of Australia on that Linden Snodgrass Racing backed Husqvarna, Linden Snodgrass. Up next, the number 8. The number 8 out of North Carolina, riding aboard the Phoenix Racing Honda, Mike Wachowski. Up next, the 198, riding aboard the AM Pro Yamaha, Liam Draper. Up next, the 212 out of Duval, Washington on the Enduro Engineering back Triumph. Rough and rowdy Ricky Russell. Up next, the number 7 out of Denver, North Carolina on the Liqui-Moly Factory Racing Beta, Josh Strang. And now the 342 out of Waynesburg, Pennsylvania on the Rockstar Energy Factory Racing Husqvarna, Craig DeLong. And now the 514 out of Hodges, South Carolina on the Rocky Mountain Red Bear Team Green Kawasaki, Stu Baylor. Up next, the 336 out of Elkin, North Carolina on a Vicon Services JDP backed Honda, Ryder Lafferty. Up next, the 401 out of Florida on a Paint Guy, Brandon and Blake back KTM, Caden Broswell on the gas. On the gas. And last but not least, the 989 out of Williamstown, West by God, Virginia on the Racecraft Racing Team backed KTM, Bad Thad Duval. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your starting row for the XC1 Pro class here at the Talladega GNCC. And just a reminder, all spectators have to be back behind the white stringer line. All spectators back behind the white stringer line. Cannot have anybody down here by turn number 1. All spectators back behind the white stringer line, please. Authorized media and staff only. DJ Judd jumps into the Yamaha R-Max 1000. Throws on the sparkle helmet because details, baby, details. And this is where we like to say, DJ Judd, remove the meat. As DJ Judd makes his way off of the starting line with the Mobile Entertainment Activation Transport, new acronym, I finally got her dialed. I think he's going to be making his way out that exit there onto the roadway. There you go, George. George Murphy over there directing traffic. And as Judd makes his way off of the start, all eyes will fixate down into turn number 1, where the maestro himself, Ricky Towery, will take the reins of this race. And we go as Ricky goes. Ricky now steps forward and he lets our riders know 1 minute. 1 minute until we are ready to go. Talladega GNCC Racing here for round number 3. As Ben Kelly enters the day with the points lead, Johnny Gerard coming off the big win. What a performance we saw by the 557 and Pro Yamaha of Caleb Russell just a short week ago in the sands of Florida. And there it is, blue flag waves, blue flag waves. Shut them down, shut them down, shut them down. As we are just about ready to roll now, and as we get the machines shut down, I gotta ask you, Talladega GNCC, are you ready to go GNCC Racing? Oh, that was weak. It is you guys who braved the rain. It is you guys out here in a history-making year, the 50th running. I'm going to ask you one more time. Are you ready to go GNCC Racing? Boogity, boogity. 10 seconds for row number 1, the XC1 Pro. And we're off. A good drive right up the inside by the 198 of Liam Draper. Can he turn it into a hole shot? A checkup from the neck up. It don't matter. That is going to be the 198 Ampro Yamaha of Liam Draper grabbing the hole shot, the Landers KTM Hole Shot Award, and the early lead as the XC1 continues to jockey for position. We turn our attention now to row number 2, the XC2 250 Pro Class. Blue flag waves. Get them shut down, and we got another hole shot award up for grabs, courtesy of Landers KTM. Angus Reardon, Zachary Davidson, Josh Toth, Toby Cleveland, Jason Tino, Brody Johnson, T-Rex Nick DeFeo, Hunter Bush, Jesse Ansley, Kenneth Held, Michael DeLosa, ready to roll in 10 seconds. Jack Walker, Grant Davis, Jonathan Johnson, and Cody Barnes. We are off the 213 with a good drive, but it looks like maybe the number 1 machine right there. Oh, side by side. Oh. 246. 246 going to be credited with the hole shot award. That is Nick DeFeo grabbing that one. Row number 3, 10 seconds. XC3 LoJack Cycle Sales Hole Shot Award up for grabs. Buzz, baby. Nothing like the 125s. James Simpson, Tyler Shields, Isaiah Brown. That is going to be the 217 of Tyler Shields out of Monterey, Tennessee, on that Landers KTM and Moose Racing backed. KTM grabbing that hole shot and early lead. 10 seconds. 250A, Van Adams, Colton Shields, Cooper Jones, Ryan Piper, Gavin Simon, Chase Landers, Collier Martinez, Will Steven Piper, Joe Cunningham, Caleb Baltimore, Trevor Zartan, Trevor Goetz. And that's going to be the 254. That is Chase Landers out of Monterey, Tennessee, grabbing that hole shot and early lead. 10 seconds. Open A. Samuel Evans, Kenton Coleman, Kiefer Galliano, TJ Brown, Austin Hovatter, Ty Ely, Dylan T. De La Cruz, Dennis LeBlanc, Trevor Hewlin, Cooper Davis, Jeremiah Lanther, TJ Gould. 518 out in front. That's going to be the 518 on the helmet. That is Cole Whitmer out of Pennsylvania on the Moose Racing backstride. 10 seconds for stroke A lights. Joshua Connor, Logan Pellegrini, Brady Beerbaum, Ryan Amancio, Braden Baisley, Tucker Kenry, Rivers Morris, Ty Atkinson, Lane Smith, Devian Hill, and side by side, but it's going to go to the 717 of Owen Barnes, putting a little hot sauce on it, grabbing that hole shot. One rider down just after the first turn, able to get her back up on 2 wheels and rolling. Here we go. 10 seconds. Junior A, 25 plus. Russell Smith, Chance Malin, Chase Hall, Neil Osley, P. Tent Weisenholt, Spencer Winter, Shane Wicker, Justin Leonard, Corey Cameron, Hayden Dillon, Evan Maynard, Wyatt Ford, Ethan Waddell, Caleb Hagan. 255, that is Russell Smith out of West Mifflin, Pennsylvania, on the Tri-State Power Sports backed Husqvarna. 10 seconds. Vet A, 30 plus. Robbie Norwood, Corey Armstrong, Michael Jarosco, Jeff Werner, James Arnold, Keith Holtzclaw, Justin Brasher, Lance Smith, Danny Hoff, Justin Meade, Sammy Doris, Jeffrey Sanders, Drew Garrett, Gregory Funk. Who's got the funk? Gregory's got the funk. 837. That is Shane O'Banion out of Bowling Green, Kentucky, on the Kawasaki. 10 seconds. 150A, Michael Meyer, Lucas Rubenstein, Colby Goodman, Jack Whalen, Davin Scheich, Luke Newton, Daniel Starnes, Bentley McGraw, Benjamin Waka, David Johnson, Ryder Segedy, Kyle Greinwitz, CJ Dollarhide, and the 346 on the helmet sticker. Well, looked like 346. May have seen that one wrong. Good start nonetheless. Wait on that signal here from Ricky Towery. 10 seconds. And we're off. I believe this is our 150A class here. Michael Meyer, Lucas Rubenstein. No, that was our last one. Hang on now. Let's take a look. They're coming around. Senior A 40 plus. 4.65. That is Jesse Arsenault. That was your Senior A 40 plus. Papers sticking together. Sorry about that. 10 seconds. 250B. Bryce Woodrum, Devin Moore, Lennox Riley, Cole Krupinski, Brandon Bailey, Ryan Sweat, Brandon Slotzer, Raymond Rhines, Michael Sturrock, David Singleton, Dylan McDonald, Michael Taylor, Gabriel Davis, and grabbing a whole shot. Looked like the 4.45 of Dylan McDonald on the Yamaha, getting work done. Open B, 10 seconds. Nate Garrison, Cody Harding, Blake Freiberger, Landon Phillips, Keegan Storms, Evan Moyer, Caden Annan, Dylan Fleming, Mark Cole, Davey Souza, Jacob Wilberg, Colton Painter, Jamison Boyard, Luke Thurfield, and Logan Reniger. 9:02 Logan Reniger on the Kawasaki out of Florida. Grabbing that whole shot, an early lead. 10 seconds. 4-stroke B lights. Devin Starnes, Justin Young, Carlo Cleary, Matt Gray, Dio Broadwater, Griffin Coleman, Maddox Moretz, Joseph Sheelot, Colton Mochtock, Owen James, Kid Norris, Colin Eberhardt, Preston Horton, Colton Corbin, and Spencer Knight. That's going to be the 4.43. That is Maddox Moretz out of Morganton, North Carolina, getting it done on the Yamaha. Little mishap there for the 501, making up for it. 10 seconds. 150B, Nico Pursuti, Levi Wilkins, Colby Riggs, Owen Mock, Isaac Leitner, Charlie Simpson, Mason Zalel, Julian Loy, and Hayden Newsom. Around the first turn, little dab right there for the 87-0. That was some style right there. Levi Wilkins hanging on for dear life. Getting it done. 10 seconds. Vet B, 30 plus. Ricky Stanley, Mike Hebron Sr., Barry Finch, Bruno Marquez, Darren Schrunenberg, Daniel Zortman, Joseph Ward, Jesse Fulmer, Alex Head, Keith Gann, Cody Johnson, Devin Hall, Jesse Murtha, Kyle Cole, Jack Smith. And that is going to be, boy, look like 400. Yes, it will be. The ride of Cody Johnson out of Morgantown, West by God, Virginia, almost heaven. Here we go. 10 seconds. Senior B, 40 plus. Larry Hopper, Brandon Black, Aaron McAfee, Nathan Welch, Albert Spicer, Chris Hart, Jared Wooten, Jeremy Nance, Leon Whitaver, Gregory Davidson, Nick Frady, and Igor Sares. Side by side. Ooh, couldn't see. Got the hydration line right there by the number on the helmet. That's okay. 10 seconds. Junior B, 25 plus. Zach Cummins, Judson Bogus, Austin Belaska, Alex Stoner, Briley Stollenbarger, Hunter Purdue, mercy, Devin Boatkin, Tyler Daniels, William Dennis, Alex Grunder, Gregory Brandom. Whole shot 367 on the helmet sticker. That's going to be Devin Boatkin out of Pennsylvania with that whole shot and early lead. And Ricky Towery pointing here. Said we got one rider late off the line. And then I think we are good. Yes, we are. All right, you are clear on that starting line, folks. Woo! We are off and rolling. How about it? Liam Draper grabbing himself a whole shot and an early lead. But how is it all going to play out? What sounds like an abbreviated race today. We'll talk more on that. We'll talk more GNCC here in just a moment. We're going to take a short commercial break, get in a word from our sponsors, and be back with more from the Talladega GNCC.
Everywhere but the seat. The seat is leather.
Alan, we get it. You love your bike. We do too.
That's why we're America's #1 motorcycle insurer.
But do you have to wedge it into everything?
What? I don't do that. This reminds me of my bike. The Wolf was about the size of my new motorcycle. Have you seen it, by the way? Happy birthday, Grandma!
Really?
Look how the brushstrokes follow the line of the gas tank.
Hey!
Hey! Brought my +1. Jamie.
Every generation believes they've invented the best way. With age comes wisdom. We've come to realize that every piece of knowledge is learned, passed down from those generous and patient enough to teach.
Take a look.
Legacy. It's not about leaving something behind to be remembered by. It's realizing that the future lies within the next generation.
Let's call it a night. All right.
The nature of true progress is humbly building something bigger than yourself. Rocky Mountain ATV MC. This is our legacy.
Whatever you drive, however you drive. AMSOIL specially engineers lubricants to maximize power, performance, and protection in your vehicles, so you can work hard and play hard with confidence. Order online at amsoil.com.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized E-Turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 50th Annual Progressive Insurance Grand National Cross Country Racing Series. This is round 3 of the 2025 GNCC Series, the Talladega GNCC, and it is going to be a good one. My name is Jackson Burrell. I'll be alongside Johnny G and Zach Heron to bring you today's action. Zach, good day to be racing.
Absolutely. Another fantastic day. Little bit different scenery than we had yesterday. As you can tell, I mean, Mother Nature is a fan of GNCC racing, and she doesn't like to just watch. She likes to be a part of the action as well. We got some rain showers here in Alabama, and it has made things interesting, to say the least, here today. We're going to show you exactly how this afternoon pro race got kicked off with our specialized start recap, getting some great shots there of some of the riders making their way around. We'll be touching on the way this track has broken down, taking a look at our XC1 Pro start. Look at the drive from the number 1 of Johnny Gerard, but how about it? Liam Draper leads them into turn 1. Watch this. That's not the slideways I'm usually talking about. Johnny Gerard and Caleb Russell going down in turn 1. It's going to be Liam Draper, Lyndon Snodgrass, Craig DeLong, and Caden Braswell joining us here this weekend as well on the gas, running 1, 2, 3, and 4 through those first couple of corners. Looks like a few more riders getting hung up in some of those flat sections before they head off into the woods. Now taking a look at our XC2 class. Once again, a drag race. Toby Cleveland and Grant Davis barreling into turn 1. Davis chops underneath, but how about T-Rex? Nick DeFeo with a little look over, going to be credited with the hole shot, but going to go wide in turn 2. Grant Davis going to cut underneath and grab the early race lead. The FMF XC3 125 Pro Am class. That's a little more slideways like I'm talking about. The 2.7 of Tyler Shields making quick work of it, hugs both of the insides and is going to control the early race lead. Looks like that's the 265 just behind him on the KTM as well. That is how things got started off. Now we're going to give you a few more shots of our leaders making their way through the woods. It is still Liam Draper out front on the Ampro Yamaha. Looks like Lyndon Snodgrass in the number 2 spot. Craig DeLong, possibly Mike Wachowski, Ben Kelly. I saw Josh Strang there. Looks like Gerard and Russell back up once again. Already seeing some steam coming off of the 198 of Draper out front leading the way. And, man, this is going to be a fun one to watch for sure. And joined in the booth with us, normally used to seeing him out on track. Jordan loves the mud. Unfortunately, Jordan Ashburn here with us in the studio, not going to be playing in the mud. Jordan, great to have you here in studio, but we wish you were out on track. Talk to us a little bit about what's happening.
Yeah, I had a little injury at Florida, ended up hitting a hole and kind of breaking a little piece of my shoulder. So, we're not racing this weekend, and, man, the conditions look fun, though, so missing it.
Might be the only person you will hear saying it looks fun out there today. But nonetheless, Jordan, expert analysis. We can't wait to hear kind of your breakdown on the way this race is going to shape up. One of the things that you said right before we came back from commercial, good day to be in the XC2 class. Said you're expecting to see those XC2 leaders right on the tail end of the XC1 class within the first couple of miles. Talk a little bit about how these conditions are playing into the hand of XC2.
Yeah, it's anytime we as XC1 guys get into these sections that are just gnarly and you got a lot of ruts and a lot of lines and you get hung up for just a second, you lose a few seconds, and, I mean, man, just like that, they're right on you, and they're just they're pushing hard to get to the back of the XC1 crowd.
And that's one thing we hear Reardon talking about a lot, how he thinks he has such an advantage because he can see where you guys are going, see where you're getting hung up, and goes back to just what you were saying.
Yeah, and even like, for if the XC1 class has already still gone through a mud section and XC2 gets there, they can kind of still see where all the lines have went to know, like kind of try to get the better ones out of it.
Now they're at that Flat Rock Motor Club Gas Factory Racing team. Yourself on the XC1 field. Jason Tino over on the XC2 class. Tino kind of getting some things figured out as well. Chatted with him a little bit earlier this weekend. Really starting to get comfortable on that machine and said he's going to start being able to show what he's made of here soon.
Yeah, for sure. I was talking to him today and I was like, hey, just be smart today and get out there and pick good lines and you have a good day.
Yeah, this seems like one of those tracks. Patience is a virtue, right? And you have been one of those riders where we see as the Yamaha Racing Track Mat kind of pops up, maybe not like flashy right off the start, but slowly but surely you're still there. You get a good start, and then it's in those late stages of the race you start moving forward. What kind of sticks out to you about this Talladega track? Have you been able to cycle it at all, or have you just been on foot all weekend?
I've not really been out on the track much this weekend, but I think just how tight and complex the race course is, it's going to be a slower type race. So you're not, especially with it being so muddy, I don't think you're going to be able to get anything slung off the bike and like get all that stuff falling off. So bikes are going to be heavy. It's going to weigh in on the radiators, and it's going to be a smart day. You're going to have to be smart and pick good lines and try to stay out of that stuff.
Absolutely. You can tell just over 11 miles the total track distance. It got that Intimidator section, and our very own Jared Bolton said it was just coincidence that it was the 3-mile mark. I think he's too clever for that. But nonetheless, plenty of challenges and obstacles here for the inaugural Talladega GNCC. Jordan, a brand new location. We see Johnny Gerard there, goggles already off.
You see they're already going around that main line, working out to the left, and because, the ruts are obviously already really bad out there.
It looked like that might have been T-Rex that I saw already in the mix of the XC1 field. So sounds like you nailed that one, Jordan. The XC2 already getting up into the fight with the XC1 class. I'm sure we
probably missed Grant there, too. Yep. I'm sure he was right in the middle of that.
Yeah, that honestly could have been Grant that we saw there. Yeah. It was a number 1 on a KTM. Couldn't quite tell the background color on the number plate, but yeah, creativity got to be a big part of this as well. You got to be able to look beyond just those first couple of lines. Sometimes exploring can work for you. Sometimes it can bite you as well.
Yeah, not always following the guy in front of you it's not always a good thing here, especially in conditions like this. I mean, you follow the rear tire, you'll follow it right into a hole, and then you find yourself stuck, or they may get through it and you may not, and just a lot of things that can happen.
Now, great to see the Ampro Yamaha of Liam Draper up front. Had such a solid XC1 debut last year. Hasn't quite had that same luck so far in 2025, but is this one of those races where, especially here on lap 1, maybe don't want to be in the lead?
I think I would want to be in the lead. If I was racing today, a whole shot would be huge, and then just to be able to stay clean, like he's clean right there. You know, goggles are good. They're going to be good for longer than if you're behind everyone, and then just to be able to ride your own track and kind of pick stuff, and everybody else just kind of has to follow.
Now, trying to take a look at the field here, I couldn't quite decipher who. I think that's Lyndon Snodgrass that we're following. Craig has made the pass around him. Did you see who that second place rider was? There is Gerard. Wow, so Gerard making some quick moves after going down in turn 1. Josh Strang just behind him on the beta machine. Then it looks like, couldn't quite tell. There was Ben Kelly, who recognized the Alpine Star gear. And got to wonder whether or not some of those XC2 riders starting to get into this freight train as well. Are you expecting a lot of separation here early in this, or are we going to see these guys kind of wheel to wheel for at least the first little bit, you think?
I think everybody will stay pretty close for a little bit. I don't think there's going to be any big places to separate a lot right off the get-go. So I think as the day goes on and the track breaks down, I think that's when you'll see gaps start emerging.
Now, Jackson, you were able to chat with our WXC Podium a little bit earlier. What did the ladies have to say about the way this track was developing? It's obviously brutal, but nonetheless, they were putting a pretty good pace as we see Gus Reardon on screen.
Yeah, that's pretty much what they were saying, is just how brutal it was. They said they didn't think it could get much worse than round number 1. They said they thought this had beat it for sure. So definitely going to be rough out there today. They did say a bunch of lines opening up, but you can pretty much see exactly what they were going to tell you.
Yeah, it's pretty tough out there, to say the least, right now. Taking a look, everybody's starting to get that same shade of Alabama soil on them, making it tough on us up here in the booth. But one of the things that you can see, a lot of those roots sticking out, but we're not digging down into the soil here in Alabama quite like we saw at Big Buck. A few of these corners getting pretty deep, but there's also some very hard pack sections as well. Throttle control going to be a huge part of this. We saw right off the start.
Yeah, there's a lot of red clay out there, and I think there's going to be sections of the track that you have all that hard packed red clay, but then it could change, just with a little bit of elevation right back to some sandy bottomless stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it'll be quite difficult.
And didn't get the total rider count, but I heard close to 300 riders here in this afternoon race. So the lap riders also probably going to start to play a role in this. It's so interesting to see the difference. All of these afternoon riders are skilled and have earned the right to be in this afternoon race. But nonetheless, the difference between the speeds your top riders go through sections like this at the 6 mile mark versus some of the other lines is such a huge difference. Definitely think tough, tight course to make passes on. Lapper's going to be something to watch out for.
Yeah, I absolutely think so. The lappers are going to be really hard to get around, and a lot of times when you have a course that's tough to get out of the main line, like the lappers, a lot of times will just stop in the main line and expect you to get around them, and it's always, sometimes it's really hard to get out of there, to get around them.
Watching Gavin Simon on screen, one of our A-class riders, has had a couple of top 10 overall finishes. Simon been battling with he was battling with T-Rex, Nick DeFeo last year, JoJo Cunningham in that class as well. These guys consistently battling for top overall amateurs as well. We often talk about the benefit for XC2 to XC1, but in conditions like this, does it apply to the A classes as well if they're able to work forward maybe through some of the XC3 and latch on to XC2, if you will?
Oh, I think so. I think it definitely, even just working your way from back there, the more progression you make into people, you just keep going.
And Jordan, I've got to ask you, man, so what's one of the main things that you do different on a mud day like this? Do you ride in a higher gear? Is there something that that these riders should be doing out there?
Looking ahead and, being in a little higher gear, trying to flow through the track, but keeping the front end light and just trying to kind of, surf your way through some of the sections. And obviously, in the hard-packed, greasier sections, you want to stay off the roots for sure. So you're going to be seeing them go toward the edges of the track in those sections.
Man, things have definitely been tight, and a lot of variety here early. Ben Kelly, actually your points leader now, 39 points. Nick DeFeo second in the overalls with Gus Reardon and Josh Toth 2, 3, and 4. And Caleb Russell now knocking on the door of a top 5 in the overall points. Ben Kelly, consistency has paid off for him. We were able to catch up with your overall points leader.
I'm pumped to be leading the overall and have the white plates on my bike, and yeah, I plan to keep it that way. I don't have a big lead now. I just want to keep growing that, keep being consistently on the podium, but I want to win. I want to win more than anything. So going to really try to get the win here this weekend in Talladega. It's going to be tough. Like I said, I smashed up my hand at Florida, so I'm dealing with that. It's going to be a hard race, but excited to get out there, get after it. No excuses, just tough it out. And like I said, yeah, it's going to be, being at a new venue is sick. I already pedaled the track once. It's going to be tight. It's going to be rooty. It's going to be, I think the whole pack's going to be pretty close together on a track like this because there's nothing crazy to separate you. It's a lot of the same. But yeah, I think it's going to be a challenging track. So yeah, just try to get a good start and get out front early, not make that mistake like I did in Florida, and yeah, fight for a win.
Ben Kelly, man, always so optimistic and ready for the challenge up ahead. We talked about the new location here at Talladega. Ben actually touched a little bit on racing here in Alabama and what he expects to see.
The National Enduro Series, the final round, like the past handful of years that I've raced it, is in Alabama. Not exactly sure where it is in relation to this, but after pedaling the track, it's pretty similar. It's some hard packed clay, really rooty. Seems pretty tight, just the way the woods is, I guess, with all the trees and stuff, like lots of vines and weird stuff out there. And being at how it's a new venue, there haven't been any trails here, so it's all fresh. So it's really like twisty, turny, I'm sure some lines will open up and it'll flow a little bit more, but it's going to be a lot of like, might be harder to like carry momentum throughout the whole track. It's going to be a lot of like accelerating, braking hard, accelerating, braking hard. So it's going to be physical in that aspect. And yeah, it's going to get real rooty, real choppy acceleration bumps. And even just when I pedaled it before the quads, the ground is just like really lumpy and chunky. So I think it's going to be like a weird one. Trying to get a good dialed suspension setup will, I think, make a big difference out here.
Always so nice to get the expectations for these riders. And one of the things that Ben was talking about, Jordan, you can touch on a little bit, the all gas to all brake type aspect of it in these tight races. You guys are charging short chutes, whether it's 10 to 15 feet or whether it's a mile long. How tough is that physically, from going wide open to as hard as you can on the brakes over and over and over again?
Yeah, it's not only hard, like, physically and mentally. You're just constantly looking for the right place to go for that quicker line here, quicker line there, but just the amount of, simple as like the pressure on your body, going from locked out to holding on to like hard braking into a corner, around a tree, around this. So yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot to it. Kind of like in the Florida, and staying in the Florida, you're just constantly doing squats all day.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, it's similar, but it's more load on the upper body.
Well, and we even saw this yesterday with Bryson Neal and Walker Fowler. It kind of seems like things can sneak up on you in that type of aspect, because you're going quick, and then it's almost like your subconscious sees a possible line, and before you can even realize it, you're committing to it. And so sometimes these slower, tighter sections almost come at you a little faster.
Yeah, they do, because you're trying to carry as much speed as possible, and it's easier to make mistakes coming into things like that.
So watching on screen right now, some more of your riders making their way through the 7-mile mark. Going to pick up with your leaders here soon at the next camera shot. But just a couple of sections changed around a little bit for this afternoon race. The track crew doing a great job of making sure that the track is passable. Sounds like the Intimidator section actually going to be one of the better sections, Jackson, for these riders. The WXC and the AM class, the first group to make it through that area of track, and actually sounds like it'll be one of the better portions of the course.
Yeah, probably should be. This is one of the few places out on the course that hasn't been rode an absolute ton here, but we're seeing such different conditions than what we saw here yesterday. It was hard packed, it was dusty, and now to be thrown with this, we're just in a whole nother ballpark.
Yeah, shaking and baking here, but in a whole different aspect of it for sure. As still seeing a lot of those lines developing, and you could touch on kind of the left side of your screen, seeing some of those riders make their way through. When the top XC1 guys were going, there wasn't a rut built up right there, but it's already getting down super deep. Maybe going to have to see the leaders get creative next time through as well.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of, you said there's 300 bikes out there. There's a lot of bikes, and if half of them take that line the next lap, things can be totally different. You think you had a solid line that was new or fresh, and sometimes you have to revert back to the main lines on the track because sometimes they hold up better in the end than the newer creative lines.
And over 500 people were out there for that AM bike race. So a ton of people have been on this course here today.
Yeah, got to talk about the incredible turnout here for the inaugural Talladega GNCC. I believe 563 bikes in that AM bike race. And in just over 200, I believe close to 280 in this PM bike race. So an incredible turnout for what is truly a historic race. 50 years of GNCC racing and a place so rich in racing history like Talladega. It's so cool to be able to come together and not only be a part of it, but man, Jackson, we can talk about this as well. Talladega is stoked to have us here. We were able to check out some events and some attractions here in Talladega. We'll have a nice segment on that a little bit later, but it is so cool to see how excited they are to have GNCC racing here with them.
And possibly get to hear from some of our friends from Talladega here in just a little while, so we'll be looking forward to that, get to hear straight from them.
And want to let everybody know as well, we do have a cool thing going on with Moto Tees. You guys can actually order the Talladega shirts and get them shipped to you. So that's a pretty cool, unique thing that they're doing right now. Got the Ricky Bobby combos going on. And this is it's a cool atmosphere as well. And you can tell the fans are enjoying it. Talking to some of the fans, they didn't even know what GNCC was. They were just kind of hanging out in the area, and they're like, I actually kind of chuckled a little bit. One guy was like, well, you guys don't race in the rain, do you? And I was like, let me pull up the Instagram page for you, show you what we're dealing with here. We actually prefer it a little bit rainy, it seems like. So
Jordan does.
Yeah, absolutely. So, no, it's super cool to see a new location here for GNCC. And the way the teams prepare for something like this, Jordan, you guys, ultimately, it's not rewriting or recreating the wheel, right? It's GNCC racing, but in a new location, is there a little extra effort put into checking out the location, checking out the track, the soil, stuff like that, or do you guys kind of say, all right, well, this is probably going to be like a big buck or like this round or that round? How much extra detail goes into planning for a place you've never been before?
Yeah, I mean, you always plan for conditions. I mean, obviously, I think everyone planned for a pretty good racetrack this weekend,
right,
and didn't really plan for very much rain coming. And I mean, we didn't get a whole lot of rain, and the track changed a lot. But I think everyone really tries to prepare for the mud this weekend, especially this morning. And as far as the mechanics and stuff, I mean, it's actually really hard on the teams trying to figure out all the new places to go on a new track because, usually we go to tracks we've been to, it's easy for them to get to their spots and whatever, and for him to have to relearn all that it's quite challenging.
Now, we know Jordan loves the mud, but to love the mud, you got to be prepared for the mud. What are some of the big things that you do to set not only your bike up, but yourself up as well? Foam, obviously, a big part of the team's plan, but any special things that you guys try to do to help set yourself and your bike up for success in these conditions?
Yeah, and I was walking around on the start, and a lot of guys, I mean, you use foam on the top of the helmet, so you get your helmet really heavy, you can come through the pits and rip that foam off, and having plenty of goggles prepared, obviously, and because you want to try to keep your vision all day, and seat bumps. Depending on how muddy the track is, if it's slippery or not, you want to be able to sit on a bike. And I run rags. I'll take a couple rags and stuff them in the side of your pants. So if you fall or something, you put your hands out in the mud, you can at least dry your grips off, or try to get your gloves dried out. And some guy, I mean, also use like a Scotch-Brite. So put Scotch-Brite on your bar pad so you can scrape the mud off. So
get the mud off your hands. I believe Stu Baylor.
Stu Baylor, yeah.
Wow. So how about that? Yeah. Stu Baylor shaking and baking. Looks like that is Ricky Russell on the Triumph machine. Not sure if these are your leaders or not.
Yeah, there's
Draper.
Wow.
Yeah, so that is your top two right now. Stu Baylor
going on out there.
Craig DeLong just behind. It looks like that is still Lyndon Snodgrass as well.
That section must be gnarly. There's a big shakeup. Then
possibly
KTMs.
Possibly Braswell.
Grant?
Maybe.
Possibly.
Grant and T-Rex, right there.
Wow. So your XC2 field working their way through the XC1 boys. And
Caleb.
Got to start to think that they will be sitting atop that overall leader chart early.
So wasn't quite able to catch that rider. That looks like Josh Toad.
Yep. He stands up. He's kind of easy to see.
Oh, yeah.
So things are moving fast here at Talladega. So from that camera shot, it looks like Stu Baylor taking over the lead.
Yeah, Stu Baylor and Ricky Russell working their way through the pack. Interesting enough, we chatted with Ricky Russell in that Fan Fest on the Triumph 250, and he talked about being able to kind of manhandle and maneuver that 250 around. Might be working for him in these kinds of conditions.
Definitely.
Yeah, he wasn't sure if it was because of going from the 450 to the 250 or if it was just trying, but he said that machine was very light. As we see Stu Baylor on screen now, going to be making his way through the finish line.
Yeah, we'll start to get a look here at timing and scoring as they come across the stripe. It is the 5.14 of Stu Baylor leading the way. Looks like that is Ricky Russell in the number 2 spot. And then Liam Draper hanging on to the number 3 position.
So you mentioned the goggles being off, Jordan. That is not the position you want to be in.
No, it's not.
Craig DeLong and Lyndon Snodgrass. I think that's Gerard and then Grant right behind.
Gerard, Grant, and then Nick.
DeFeo, yep.
That Strang?
Looked like that might have been Strang. There's Ben Kelly.
Oh, man. Grant Davis jumps up to the top of the board here.
And keep refreshing. Let's see where DeFeo's at as well. Probably.
And second place overall. Yep. So it's Grant Davis leading the overall, Nick DeFeo in the number 2 spot. Stu Baylor going to be in the 3rd spot on the overall, first physically out on the course. And just as I was saying it, Josh Toth going to take that 3rd place position. It is XC2 in your top 3 positions.
And 1, 2, and 3 out of the XC2 class as far as the overall picture goes right now. And we heard earlier, we had that XC2 sweep at round number 1. The level of XC2 riders, whether it's the fitness, the speed, the preparation, they're not quite as easy to shake as they used to be, are they, Jordan?
No, definitely not. You know, especially when you have conditions like this and they're able to latch on to your top guys. Like, I mean, I raced with Nick, you know, round 1 for 4 laps, and you can't shake them once they get there. And I mean, it's just they're stuck to you like glue.
Nothing that you can do, and it just goes to show the depth of the fields here at GNCC now, the level continuing to rise, and more and more riders training, whether it be at the Club MX crew, so many different groups that oftentimes train together, and helps them get used to running the pace of those top XC1 guys. The Shoals, obviously, the Rocky Mountain Red Bear team, keeping everybody somewhat familiar. And we've even heard Rachel Archer talk about that at the WXC Fest. She's like, during the week, I'm battling with DeFeo, Totes, Baylor. You know, these guys keep me on my toes, and then I'm able to execute that level of intensity in the WXC race.
And they've got something figured out in the mud. She took the win here today in the WXC, and you can see Nick DeFeo, and Josh Toth paying off for them as well as they run in that 2nd and 3rd place.
Grant Baylor, though, with a point to prove out of that XC2 class, says I earned that number 1 spot for a reason. And
Grant Davis.
Yep. Oh, yeah, Grant Davis. Excuse me. Yeah. And yeah, trying to run away with it right now, but not going to make it easy. DeFeo right behind him. I tell you what, Ricky Russell is applying the pressure to Stu Baylor right now.
Yeah.
And looks like Stu, a little glance over the shoulder. Baylor, like we said, running no goggles at the moment.
So Baylor was 9 seconds ahead of Ricky Russell there at the finish line. As you can see, that gap has definitely shrunk since then.
Now remember this one mud hole from yesterday, Jackson, and now the whole course is pretty well saturated. Crazy how things can change over the course of a day.
And Zach, taking a look here at our 2025 overall points so far, it is Ben Kelly, Nick DeFeo, Gus Reardon, Josh Toth, and Caleb Russell in our top 5 position. XC2 going to have 2nd through 4th place covered on the 2025 points. Absolutely crazy.
So one thing I see different already, though, is, you know, round 1 we had the I'm pretty sure I was racing, but A class in the up in the overalls, and we've not had any come in yet.
Taking a look for him now.
Craig DeLong running without the goggles. A lot of guys having to pull the goggles now.
So it looks like we do have a couple checked in out of that A class. The leader in our 250 A class going to be Cooper Jones on the 220 KTM.
So Jones sitting in that 17th overall spot. Chase Landers also there in the 19th overall position. So starting to work their way up a little bit. But yeah, great point there, Jordan. They were up inside I believe the top 5 at one point early at round 1. So crazy how things can change. We talked about the different kinds of mud. Some of these rounds we have almost thick glue, right? It starts weighing down the bike, weighing down the helmets. This is almost like a mud paint, if you will. A little bit thinner, but you can see starting to get in between the tear-offs, under the roll-offs. A lot of guys having to ditch the goggles.
Yeah, I see lots of guys with no goggles already. And, I mean, I guess they've the pits will be, well, I'm not sure what mile marker the pits are, but I expect to see a lot of guys getting goggles.
Oh, man. Stuck there. Is that...
Can't quite see.
Is that Wachowski?
Is it? No, it's a 3-digit. Is it JoJo? No.
Does look like one of those Phoenix Hondas. Not 100% sure, though.
Can't totally tell.
Too much mud.
Barnes, possibly?
Very
Lafferty.
well could be.
Oh,
Lafferty.
Lafferty, yep. On the Honda. Man, just goes to show, I mean, and you see immediately going to wipe those gloves as well. We're oftentimes so focused on vision, but keeping the goggles and keeping the seat clear of mud and keeping the grip there, oh so crucial. I mean, those are essentially the biggest contact points on the machine for the riders beside the foot pegs.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be able to hold on to the bike to ride it.
Man, seeing those guys ditch the goggles, just as a racer myself, I don't hardly see how that's helping them too much. I feel like their eyes have to be. What do you think, Jordan? Do you think
I think for as wet as it is, and there's so much water, like obviously, like you just can't wear them. I mean, there becomes a point like you can wear them to a point you can't see, and then you're going so slow you can't see. So you got to ditch them, and then also they're probably fogging because of the temperatures today. So
that's a good point.
I mean, roll-offs, tear-offs, I don't care what they are. Nothing works whenever it gets this bad to a certain extent.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, Jordan. But if you know that a pit crew's coming up somewhere, do you try to push it a little bit farther to keep them on? Or you go ahead and ditch them, just wipe off the face and put on the new goggles?
I think sometimes, like, you can. Yep.
And new leader.
Yeah, how about that? Ricky Russell, first time I believe we've seen the Triumph out front leading the way.
Liam.
That's Liam.
And Stu.
And there is Stu. Yep, so looks like some shuffling around. There goes Craig DeLong. Believe that was Grant Davis, who has now made the pass around Johnny Gerard, and he is right there. Nick DeFeo just behind. Looks like that might have been Lyndon Snodgrass as well on the Husqvarna. So here comes Josh Strang on the Beta. And so looks like there's Ben Kelly just behind him. So Grant Davis now up to the number 4 position, I believe, physically on track, and he's got the top 3 a couple of seconds in front of him.
Yeah, just right. There's Toth.
Russell just ahead of them.
Yep.
Caleb, one of the riders getting caught up there on the start along with Johnny Gerard.
Just seems like that first lap intensity for Grant Davis and Nick DeFeo is hard to match for the rest of the field. I mean, Josh Toth, essentially the first rider to grab an XC2 overall win, and we've seen he's got the speed, he's got the endurance, but that first lap intensity just seems to be where the 922 and the 246 can get away.
I think he was a few, like 4 or 5 guys back on the start in the woods too, so that probably was a little bit of difference today.
There's Gus Reardon as well, also on that Landers KTM team. Gus, you know, we've seen Gus be able to latch onto the back of Grant Davis, but we talked about how crucial the start is on a day like today. 4 to 5 bikes can actually be close to 10 seconds in conditions like this by the time they enter the woods.
Is that Grant Davis up possibly on screen there?
Don't believe so. I think Grant is in the Moose Racing, the red, almost purplish type gear. And he had Johnny Gerard all over it. Look at how far wide these guys are going. Completely different lines than we saw yesterday. Everybody looking for any spot that they can, try to get a little bit of traction. We saw yesterday a couple of riders essentially moving off the dirt and into the grass. Yesterday, obviously a different story with how dry the grass was, but riders continuously looking away, or looking around, I should say. It's so hard to not get tunnel vision in conditions like this. You see a line that works for the rider in front of you. It's a gamble, right? Do I try something else?
Stuck in a rut.
Right.
You're riding this rut, not knowing where it's going or leading, and you get stuck there. You can't get out of it. You just got to kind of hang out and get through it.
Not really any way to judge that either, right? You got to look at the entrance. You can't try to guess where it's going to go. Possibly Cody Barnes there maybe on screen.
Yeah, I believe so.
And looking through
Toby Cleveland.
Yes, possibly Toby Cleveland on the 213. Toby had a good start going for him as well. Saw him grab the final XC2 win of the year last year at Ironman.
And this is going to be an abbreviated race. I don't think we've touched on that a lot since we've been on air. This is going to be an abbreviated race. Roughly around 2 hours or so is what we heard there on the starting line. They let the XC1, XC2 guys know it. Go full steam ahead, as you will be about an hour short today.
And that definitely changes everyone's game plan.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's why you're going to see some guys risk not wearing goggles farther.
What do you think about the XC2 class? Do you think that's going to help or hurt?
It definitely helps, I think. I mean, at this point, I don't think it matters because they're already in the mix. But it's being a shorter day, I think it's not any time to try to stretch anything out later in the day if everybody gets separated.
Makes total sense to me. So watching at the mile number 4 marker now. Trying to see, I believe
That, I believe, is Grant Davis. We just saw go by your screen. Lyndon Snodgrass.
Man, the dudes are
DeFeo just behind him. Maybe that was Craig DeLong, so maybe some shuffling around.
And Craig's in needing a good day here today.
Yeah, good rebound for Craig. Another consistent up front run for Lyndon Snodgrass, though. He has really been on fire so far this season. That Husqvarna back machine putting in a solid run. But, yeah, I believe that is the first lap or first time that we have seen the Triumph out front leading the way here in GNCC. So Ricky Russell making some history there with the Triumph. And interesting to hear his perspective. A lot of guys look at the 250 as a disadvantage. Ricky doesn't feel that way. Here's how things got started. Liam Draper out front early, some quick shuffling around as Stu Baylor grabbed the lead for just a little bit. There you see Stu out front, Ricky Russell, and here come the XC2 boys as well. The Talladega GNCC will be back right here on Racer TV.
Unleash aggression, reliability, and premium quality with Kenda tires, delivering exceptional performance on all types of vehicles: automotive, ATVs, UTVs, motorcycles, bicycles, trailers, lawn and garden, and even golf. Trust Kenda tires to guide you on your next adventure. Kenda, designed for your journey.
Born of family values and a homegrown work ethic, Cometic Gasket seals your machine so you can focus on the finish line. Cometic Gaskets are the competitive standard for racers who demand the very best inside their engine. Cometic Gaskets are always constructed from superior materials designed to perform in the most demanding environments. Whether it's a championship on the line or a day in the dirt with friends, professionals and enthusiasts alike depend on Cometic. Cometic Gasket, sealing championships since 1989.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized E-Turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Talladega GNCC. 50 years of GNCC racing, and the first time GNCC has been lucky enough to stop here at Talladega, Alabama. A motorsports mecca for not just two-wheel or four-wheel off-road racing, but a lot of history behind Talladega as well. Talladega Superspeedway just a couple of minutes up the road, and they got so much to offer more than just a track as well. We were able to kind of take a look around the International Motorsports Hall of Fame and check out all of the amazing things they have to offer here at Talladega. Move. Oh, hey guys. Welcome to the International Motorsports Hall of Fame, located here at the entrance of Talladega Superspeedway. We were lucky enough to get to take a look around and even hop in the legend Ricky Bobby's car. Enjoy. Shake and bake. The
The International Motorsports Hall of Fame opened in 1983 and has since become a must-see stop for motorsports enthusiasts driving through Talladega. The museum and hall have continued to grow throughout the years and have up-close and personal experiences with cars dating back to the early 1960s
all the way up to modern NASCAR vehicles. And these aren't just model vehicles. They are the actual cars that got wins at iconic locations like the Coca-Cola 600, the Daytona 500, and right here at Talladega Superspeedway.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Talladega. Turn 4, the steepest and widest portion of Talladega Superspeedway. 33 degrees and 75 feet wide. Drivers come through this turn at roughly 200 miles an hour, 2, 3, and sometimes even 4 wide. We'll see whether we can get some 4 wide action this weekend at GNCC Racing.
Tours are available at the Hall of Fame, where you can get an in-depth breakdown as to the vehicles and their drivers, as well as tours around Talladega Superspeedway. Certainly a stop worth checking out here at the inaugural Talladega GNCC.
Whew. Oh, get off me! Get off me! I'm on fire! I'm on fire! Help me, Tim Cotter! Help me, Karen Joe! Help me, Caleb Russell! I'm on fire!
All right. Thankfully, the rain put the fire out. I'm all right, everybody at home that was worried. But nonetheless, Zach Herron, Jackson Burrell, and Brian Triton here from the Talladega Superspeedway, the president of Talladega. Brian, first of all, thank you. From all of us here at GNCC, it is so incredible to be able to be at such a legendary course. Man, Turn 4, I've seen it on TV. I've seen it in movies. To be there in person, absolutely incredible.
Yeah, try to have a little fun while you're here.
Oh, yeah, right. You tell I was really down in the dumps there, right?
Yeah, but it's so great to see so much imagery from Talladega Superspeedway, the International Motorsports Hall of Fame. We also have a dirt track just down the road from us, too, and they were fired it up on Friday night. So this is the mecca of motorsports for this weekend. So we welcome you guys. Congratulations on the 50th anniversary, and we're glad to have the inaugural one here, and we want to keep on going from years and years to come.
Absolutely. And Brian Crichton, I got that last name wrong. I wanted to get that correct. But no, seriously, this was so much right. But this has been so much fun. And talking to all of the GNCC Racing Nation, these tours available not only of the Motorsports Hall of Fame, but Talladega Superspeedway as well. It's insane. Everything from Victory Lane all the way to you've got such a cool fan experience, being able to immerse yourself in the teams, get to check out the garages as well. You guys really go above and beyond to make sure the fans feel right at home.
Yeah, thank you. And for you guys to come in and see all that too. It's just, we love to show this place off. We have a $50 million renovation that we built out in 2019, and it really immerses the fan into the sport. Puts you right in the garages. The only thing that separates you from the nose of the race cars is about a 4-foot high fence. You can see it, you can smell it, you can feel it. The drivers come up to that fence, they sign autographs. It is just a great, great place to be. As you mentioned, Victory Lane is there. We've got a kids zone, a game zone. It's just nonstop action. There's on the screen right now, there's our Victory Lane. You get your picture with the trophy during event weekend. It is the place to be. Hey, and Friday and Saturday, kids are free at Talladega Superspeedway, and they start at just $15 on Sunday. So 12 and under free on Friday and Saturday, and $15 on Sunday.
Absolutely incredible. Now, you obviously know everything there is to know about Talladega racing. What do we think about GNCC? You've been hanging out all day long, battling through the rain, watching the chaos that is GNCC racing. What do you think about it?
Yeah, we love it. So, the team came out in January and started to cut through the woods, and I'd be lying if I didn't say we went through and kind of checked it all out too. So we were fortunate enough to do the 6-mile course on Friday on some ATVs. I did beat my partner Patrick Barfield through the woods, so I was able to feel it firsthand. Boy, man, I was sore Saturday morning, and this morning when I woke up, seeing all the ATVs yesterday was great, and then today, obviously different course with all the rain, but it's just amazing what these riders are doing.
Yeah, it's crazy to see the variance, right, between Saturday and Sunday, the quads and the bikes, and trust me, there's been plenty of time the quads get the short end of the stick and get the rainy day as well, but incredible. We had almost 600 riders in our previous AM a.m. race. We've got almost 300 riders in this one. And I do believe we've seen some four-wide action here today. We weren't sure it was going to happen, but, man, it has really shaped up to be a great course. Lots of line options. And we're so excited to be able to be a part of Talladega's racing history.
Yeah, so I mean, we got to catch up with you guys because I was at that start line, and it looks like about 28, 30 wide.
Oh, yeah.
That are coming from that start line into that first U-turn in there. It's amazing. So, yes, the cars on the racetrack do about 200 miles an hour, inches apart from bumper to nose, and it's just amazing to see that. But this is a whole new sport to Talladega Superspeedway. We love it. We want to continue it. We want to know how to build this next year as well because this is an awesome event.
Well, that's exactly what we love to hear, and been cool to see a lot of different new faces as well. I know I was actually able to check out the International Motorsports Hall of Fame the day before we went and filmed, and there were a couple people asking some questions, talking about, hey, what's this about? I've been seeing some posts on social media about it, but it's cool to see the curiosity and the interest from the four-wheel side of things as well. People wanting to come check out GNCC.
Yeah, absolutely, and our digital social networks were lit up this week, just asking us about what was going on, where to camp, where to park, where to see things. So, yeah, you guys definitely grabbed the attention of the motorsports fans in this area. We have a beautiful museum about 25 miles away towards Birmingham, Barber Motorsports Park.
Awesome.
And, we invite everybody that's coming here. There's so much to do in this area. There's so much to do in this area that we invite people for next year to come on out. Make it a whole week long, of exciting events and different things to do.
Yeah, and like we talked about, the World of Outlaws coming and hanging out with us. They were racing just a few nights ago as well. We got some shots from out there. One of my favorite things to say is Slideways. This is Slideways racing action at its finest. So cool to see yet another different discipline of racing right here at Talladega.
Yeah, this is the Talladega short track, and they call it the Hornet's Nest.
Okay.
They call it the Hornet's Nest for a great reason. These cars just out there, the Wing Nation is just unbelievable to see. So much fun on Friday night. Hopefully they'll come back, and we'll make this a growing weekend every year.
Yeah, you can really get your fill here. 2 wheels, 4 wheels, on-road, off-road. I mean, it's the best of all worlds here at racing at Talladega. And like we said, we truly are so appreciated to be a part of it. We're waiting on your leaders on screen. The track been breaking down a little bit here. Rainy conditions, but nonetheless, these guys continuing to push the paces. That might be your lead group making their way through. Yeah, tough to kind of see everybody that same shade of Alabama soil right now. It gets hard to decipher who is who. But we've got some of our, looks like that is Grant Davis, and could he possibly have overtaken the physical lead?
Wow, we're getting told we do believe so at this point. We're going to have to wait to the next camera shot to confirm, but if Grant Davis is in the physical lead, it is a bad day for our XC1 class.
I'm telling you what. So, Brian, not sure how closely you follow this, but our XC2 class, kind of the 250 class, right, started a row behind, has worked his way through the entire top guys of the sport, and now physically finds himself in the lead. There you see Stu Baylor trying to put on a new set of gloves. They're getting that bike set up, taking just a little bit of extra time, Jackson, to get that bike dialed in, get some fresh gloves, and get back out on course.
Yeah, well, of course, we got our first XC2 overall winner last year, but it was at the first race this year that we saw somebody physically get into that head of the XC1 and into the lead. Might be seeing it again here today in Talladega.
Let's see who that is. Possibly Johnny Gerard. I believe he had worked his way in front of his teammate. Nonetheless, they're both right there. One pops out of the pits as another pops in. Not quite the air horn sounds or the air wrench sounds, no. But nonetheless, it is still a full pit crew effort here at GNCC.
Yeah, and those pit crews are so important in NASCAR, and it looks like to be so important here as well, especially with all the dirt and all the mud that everybody's got on them. So, the Alabama red clay is definitely making an appearance.
Yeah, that's probably something that's somewhat comparable between NASCAR racing and here at GNCC. It looks like it's just one guy out there, but you know as well as I do, it truly is a team effort. Those pit crews, they put in the reps as well. They practice. They know the difference of a second here, a second there could be the difference between a win and a loss.
That's right. Everybody has their discipline. Everybody has their jobs to do, and they're doing it as fast as they can to get them back going again.
Now, something that may be a little different. We've got wives, girlfriends, uncles, cousins, brothers, all spread out throughout the trail as well. You'll see some of these riders never letting off the throttle, but reaching out, grabbing water bottles. It is so cool to see just how in tune these riders are with their entire team spread throughout just about 11 miles of racing.
Yeah, absolutely. For the amateur race earlier today, we were all over the woods in there. So it was great to see all different areas and all the different challenges that the riders had.
Yeah, the variables, they just keep coming out here.
Hey, Brian, speaking of the mud as well, Very, very muddy day here, but we talked off camera. That's not going to deter Talladega from racing here.
No, not at all. And, you know, somebody said earlier, hey, we'll make sure this gets all fixed up. I'm like, hey, man, we don't care. This is so much fun. We're just having a blast here. So bring it back next year. Let's make it bigger. Let's continue to grow this event year after year after year. We love you guys at Talladega.
And we'd love to hear that. That's what we've been talking about all weekend long. We're telling everybody, you know, pick the trash up. To thank somebody that you see here with GNCC. And like I said, a humongous thank you to everybody at Talladega Superspeedway, the International Motorsports Hall of Fame, for letting GNCC and Racer TV come hang out. I mean, that was the grand tour. We had such a great time. And I cannot believe how steep turn 4 is. That just, I was on the phone with my dad. I'm like, I know you've seen it. He grew up racing cars. I'm like, you need to walk on it because it is insane. 33 degrees. It's a lot more impressive to see than it is to hear.
Yeah, if you see it on TV, it does not describe and it does not give you the feeling when you're sitting at the base of it looking 75 feet up at that 33 degrees of banking. The steepest, the widest, the longest, the fastest track in NASCAR. We like to say the biggest, the baddest coming out to Talladega Superspeedway.
The best of the best. And yeah, so one of the other favorite parts about being here at Talladega, Ricky Bobby and Talladega Nights. Talk a little bit about how that came to be, the relationship between Talladega Superspeedway and the film crew, how it wound up being Talladega Nights.
Yeah, believe it or not, next year is the 20th anniversary of Talladega Nights. So it's been 20 years. So I was actually up at Chicagoland Speedway at that time. So I wasn't here. I've been at Talladega now for about 15 years. So yeah, just all of it. All the TV crews worked together with everybody at the racetracks and the whole entire circuit too. There were a bunch that were shot up at Charlotte Motor Speedway too. So just what a fun movie, and people say, do you like it? I'm like, it's a Will Ferrell movie.
Absolutely.
Of course I like it. I love it.
Wow, almost 20 years of shaking and baking. Well, we had to talk to all of our favorite GNCC riders and find out exactly what their favorite Talladega Nights quotes are.
A huge fan of Will Ferrell and that movie. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's so hard to say. There's so many iconic scenes in that movie. And two, when you put me on the spot, I'm like, well, which one do I want to pick? But I like the scene with the kids around the table with the grandpa. Threw all grandpa's war medals over the bridge today. That whole scene right there just cracks me up every time.
If you ain't first, you're last.
Maybe when he's trying to get the French dude to say and not call it crepe or call it a waffle.
Little pancakes.
Thin pancakes. Yeah. It breaks his arm.
I don't know what the best line is. There's so many good ones, but I always love the bit where Ricky Bobby's rolling around screaming, I'm on fire, I'm on fire. That one's funny.
Yeah, I'm all jacked up on Mountain Dew and come at you like a spider monkey. And yeah, if you ain't first, you're last. Wake up in the morning and piss excellence. So yeah, it's just an awesome movie.
I've watched Talladega Nights probably over 100 times just throughout my childhood. It's I don't know, it's a good movie. I like it. I wake up every morning and I piss excellence, just no one can handle my stuff. It's probably my favorite line. I'll say that.
Oh man, everybody's seen the movie probably more times than they can count, at least in this parking lot. So going to Talladega is definitely cool. I don't know that the quote that I would pick is actually the one that most people would use, but I woke up this morning and I pissed excellence. So that's the attitude that I'm going to carry into the weekend. You're going to have to use a bleep on that, I would say.
And Stu Baylor relieving himself of some excellence this morning, I'm sure. Thank you once again, Brian Crichton, the president of Talladega Superspeedway. I mean, Jackson, we're so fortunate to be able to not only be around this area, but he loves it. He is into it, and he's leaving the trailer to go watch some more right now.
Yeah, he has accepted GNCC with open arms. We can't thank him enough. We can't thank him enough for letting Racer TV into the stadium over there, into the International Hall of Fame. Man, we had a great time, and it sounds like we're going to continue to have a great time here at Talladega.
Absolutely. All right, Jackson, I got to hear yours. What's the favorite Talladega quote?
Man, if we don't get this bike back out here, our sponsors are going to have a chicken. That's probably going to be mine. And that's not quite how the quote goes, but you can get the gist of it.
I think Wyatt Wilkin was a fan of that one as well.
That was a good one.
Yeah, no Formula 1 out there right now, but our XC1 class, if you will, XC1, they got their hands full right now. The XC2 kids are punking them, all right? Not just on time, but physically as well. It looks like Grant Davis has taken over the physical lead. The last time we welcome Johnny G into the booth. Johnny, man, it's bad news for the XC1 field. Grant Davis is feeling good, and he's out front.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and actually it's funny, off camera, we were just having this discussion about kind of the integration of XC1 and XC2, the way things have started to pan themselves out here. And realistically, you know, there see it looks like Lane Whitmer on screen, one of our 250A riders. You know, it really has become these kids. When I say kids, these young men in both these classes have a lot of times the same access to the same equipment, the same ability to train at facilities, and the knowledge is passed down so quickly. We don't see that big differentiation between XC1 and XC2 like we did many years ago. They've kind of started to come together, and now we're seeing a representation of that on the race course. And it makes for exciting racing. It makes it a challenge for us having to do math, but right now it's pretty easy to do math. When your overall leader is from the XC2 class and out front physically, you don't need to run a watch. You know, he's leading the overall and on both corrected time. We're actually joined in the booth now with Evan Smith, one of our XC1 riders, riding for the Ampro Yamaha team. Evan, not out there today. We haven't actually been able to see you compete much here so far in 2025, but give us a little bit about your situation, and thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. My first time here in the race productions trailer. That's pretty cool. But obviously we'd rather be out here on the track. At Sumter, the first National Enduro round earlier this year, I wrapped myself around a tree and hurt my shoulder and some ribs and stuff, so I'm kind of forced to watch these guys get to play in the mud.
Taking a look, that was your leader on screen, but that was not Grant Davis, so we'll see who that is as they get a little closer. Possibly Ricky Russell, I believe.
That does look to be Ricky Russell on that Triumph, and you can see him. Zach, what is he right there?
Oh, that is Slideways. Textbook example. Yeah, you look it up in the dictionary, that's the picture that pops up.
All right, so Ricky Russell still physically your overall leader, but taking a look over his shoulder, looking for what we are told is Grant Davis. I think he actually just went to the right of our screen there. There was a rider moving at a pretty high rate of speed there. Looked to be a KTM machine, very likely the number one. Oh, and actually, that looks to be either Ben Kelly or Johnny Gerard there.
I think it's Gerard. We had seen him move in front of his teammate and at one point.
Looked to be either the 557 of Russell or possibly, no, or right there.
I know Strang was in all red here as well.
Josh Strang. Man, it's hard to identify these guys.
Yeah.
Obviously, brown guy, but we have the obviously the advantage of our live scoring. We can see the running order as they checked in with one lap complete, and now 9 miles into lap number 2. Possibly Wachowski there. That's Ben Kelly on the right.
I got to say, I mean, I've never been in here before. I've only heard it from the outside in, and, you know, a lot of people will go, oh, man, how do you not know who's on the track? But now that I'm actually here trying to figure it out with you guys, I have no idea.
Yeah, that's actually our plan when we bring you guys in. Yeah. We just want you to get a little taste of what we're dealing with here. But nonetheless, it's and in conditions like this, it is. Everybody's the same color. The bikes all look the same. Small little details. We bring Eagle Eye Johnny in here. He's able to look at helmet shapes, the style of somebody's back going through a section, and he can tell you pretty much
when
what
you can't see numbers, the one thing I don't have the advantage of is colors. So the mud doesn't affect me as much being colorblind, but it is, you can't pick out logos, you can't pick out numbers, any of that stuff. But yeah, 9 miles into lap number 2, we know we have a shakeup. The XC2 taking the top 3 positions, actually top 4 positions, it looks like there, as one lap of racing was complete. Out there working our way around a very wet Talladega racetrack here today. Was actually just speaking with Ryan Eccles, one of our trail bosses. I said, how's the track holding up? And he said, it'll make 2 hours.
Yeah.
that was kind of where he was at with it. You know, it's just so hard right now with the rain continuing to fall. Although we did start to see, if you look outside, a little bit of sun shining.
Yep.
So that is a good sign. Don't think we're going to see this track dry up per se, but at least if the rain stops falling, you know, maybe it won't get any worse, I guess is the best way to look at it. But hey, this is GNCC racing. We know these conditions come about. Ideally, Evan, I don't think we'd want to have 2 of these in the first 3 rounds. I know it's hard on equipment, but back to your situation with your injury, obviously happening at the first National Enduro. What is your scheduled return? Kind of what do things look like for you when we see you back on a GNCC racing track?
Yeah, I'm hoping to be back at Coker. I got back on the bike this week, had a day or 2 in, but, you know, 3 hours is a long time to hold on to a bike, and I didn't feel I was quite 100% for that, and, you know, why risk it if you don't have to. So yeah, I got a couple of weeks now to get ready for Coker, and I'll be excited to do the rest of the series. and hit all the enduros. It's just, I don't know. It's killing me not being out there. I never, I'm always racing, so it's tough to be on the outside looking in. But after the first 2 rounds and now watching the third, I mean, it's been a wild year, and I mean, I don't know. These guys are definitely having to work for it.
So if you look at it from the perspective of watching this race, do you think anything would have changed for you? Obviously saying hold on to the bike for 3 hours, knowing that this now will be a 2-hour race and seeing the conditions, do you feel like that maybe if you had the opportunity, would you have brought a bike along and tried to give it a go now? Because I know you've done very well in these conditions in the past.
Oh, man, I brought my bike. I was on the fence. I first thing this morning, woke up, saw the rain, got a little excited, went out on my e-bike and pedaled the track some, tried to see if I could see it being realistic. But, I mean, like you said, I love these conditions, but that doesn't make it any less physical. And, I don't know. You don't want to take risks because you don't necessarily have to.
Definitely understand the risks, especially since you at least were able to score some points in that first National Enduro. Coming back and racing there to try to get some points moving forward. But at the same time, when you say it doesn't make it any less physical, there is an element kind of just picking the right lines. It is hard. How do I say this? There's a lot of muscle strain, but not as much endurance in a race like this. Would you say that's...
Yeah, for sure. Heart rate's a lot lower. You're not gassing it quite as hard. I don't know. Races like this, I feel like it's more of a patience game, along with trying to be fast. Like, you can be the fastest guy out there, and if you're going right through the middle of everything, that's going to come to a stop eventually.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to patience, kind of pick your lines, make sure you're going the right place, and looks like these guys not picking the right line coming through there. You can see those roots, just so many roots throughout these Talladega facility, and it's making it very slick. Riders having a hard time just kind of even staying in a line. You're kind of getting bounced around a lot.
Yeah, it's kind of a bummer to have these riders all essentially the same color, because man, did we have some cool bikes set up for this weekend. The Rocky Mountain Red Bear team, they went all in on the Ricky Bobby outfit. Wonder Bread, they had everybody. Of course, all of them want to go fast. Most of them are going fast. I know Rachel Archer took that Rocky Mountain Red Bear to a win earlier. DeFeo and Stu both running up front. And I don't think it was any surprise to see Stu Baylor embracing his inner Ricky Bobby out here this weekend.
No, he is the Ricky Bobby of GNCC. I think if somebody would say, hey, man, we'll give you X number of dollars to run a Fig Newton sticker across his goggles, he would be on it for sure. And still be competitive, no question.
Inconvenient and dangerous, but I do love Fig Newtons. And, man, the Phoenix Racing Honda team doing a really cool thing with Mike Wachowski's number 8 machine. He switched over to that number 8, and if you check out their social medias as well, actually went to the Hall of Fame, took some photos right next to Dale Jr.'s Budweiser number 8 car as well. And just it's cool to see the way the GNCC crews and the teams embrace some of these locations, coming into such an iconic NASCAR location and going all in both there for the Rocky Mountain Red Bear team and Phoenix Racing Honda.
Absolutely. And Zach, worth mentioning, we saw yesterday, and we did talk about it on screen. Look at this leader on screen, and that is Grant Davis. He is the first rider by here at the 11-mile marker. We'll have to confirm with OPAG, but we did not see any of the other riders work their way through. So he is now the physical leader, so we may have missed him in that last shot. So there is Davis out front leading the way, 11 miles in. Not only on corrected time and not only physically, with a gap. We look back, and now still some more lapped riders working their way through. So Grant Davis just on a tear right now, looking like he was carrying a good amount of speed, looked very confident in his line selection, and that goes a long way in conditions like this. We do see Stu Baylor now coming through in the number 2 spot physically and leading the XC1 class. You can see those mud mucker handguards hanging down. And just behind him looked to be Ricky Russell, their second place rider in that XC2 class and 3rd overall physically on the track. And then it is Johnny Gerard, so that is your 3rd place XC1, 4th overall. Then Josh Strang, Craig DeLong, DeFeo.
Man, I'm impressed that you're picking these guys out. I've looked at these guys a bunch on the track.
Liam Draper possibly, and Mike Wachowski.
Yep. So that was Draper, Toth, and Wachowski right there.
Yeah, that is impressive. I've spent a lot of time looking at these guys, and I have absolutely no idea who that is coming through there. Well, this section is it's super muddy, but it doesn't seem to be that deep. I mean, if we don't see any bikes sticking, front tire up in the air or anything like that. It doesn't seem to be that deep, just snotty on top.
Well, it's snotty on top, and Evan, you did say you got an opportunity to go out and look. Now it looks like we see our leaders actually coming through the finish line section. I believe that was Stu Baylor going possibly the other way there, and that is Ricky Russell right behind him. So we should be looking, unless we missed Grant Davis coming the other direction. We'll check our live timing and scoring. Grant Davis has checked in with 2 laps complete with a 38-minute, 30-second lap time. Folks, if that tells you anything, we normally hover around the high 20s, low 30-minute lap time range. 38 minutes and 30 seconds are the lap times. Now, keep in mind, they have added a few miles of race course from yesterday in a bike-only section, but they've also taken quite a bit of the course out. There is Stu Baylor. That is one of the best motorcycle riders in the world, and he had to come to a complete stop as he was off balance. Shows you just how slick this particular section of racetrack is.
Well, and showing some patience there as well. Evan, you talked about that. This is one of those, maybe got to go a little slower to go fast out here. You get in a rush, and even a simple section like this where it's essentially just flat ground, it can reach up and grab you. We saw some big crashes right in these 2 corners in our earlier AM race.
Yeah, for sure. I'm from not too far away from here in Georgia, and I know all about red clay, and I guarantee you this stuff is slick. It pedaling around yesterday, the quads put a nice polish on top of it, and then it rained a fair amount, and now it's, man, I don't know. I feel for these guys. They're definitely slipping and sliding.
Looks like we do have our top 5 checked in now, top 6 actually. Grant Davis, Stu Baylor, Ricky Russell, Johnny Gerard, Josh Strang, and Craig DeLong have all checked in now with 2 laps in the books, waiting on a few more riders that now have checked in. Behind DeLong, it's Liam Draper and Mike Wachowski.
Did I just see a bike going back across the opposite direction of this guy?
It's possible. It is possible.
That gentleman said he had had enough for the day, and that shows just, you talked about how it's just kind of slick on top. Certainly certain sections of the track are starting to get a little bit deeper. This gentleman showing exact to your point. We don't see any bikes with the front wheel stuck up in the air. Well, now we do, Evan.
I'll eat my words on that one.
But we saw Ryder Lafferty get stuck there just about a lap ago, and Lafferty, one of the top riders in the XC1 class, and so he was able to actually maneuver that thing out of the rut. This rider looking a little deflated there.
There we go. Somebody's going to save his day.
Mud Fleas coming in to help.
Good on you for that. I've been in that position many times myself, and that guy's a lifesaver.
We've got a few more riders checked in now behind Mike Wachowski in that 12 spot. We got Ben Kelly and Caleb Russell checked in, as well as Nick DeFeo and Josh Toth have checked in from that XC2 class, still continuing to be in the top 3 overall, completely boxed out by that XC2 class. Grant Davis leading the way with a 1 minute and 14-second lead over Nick DeFeo, and Josh Toth only 9.5 seconds behind DeFeo in that 3rd place overall position, with Stu Baylor in the 4th place spot overall, but leading the XC1 class. So there is the shakeup for now. On screen, there is the green number 1 of Grant Davis leading the way, taking a look over his shoulder. He's going to have a pretty big gap until he sees anybody back there. He may catch a glimpse of Stu Baylor in this section, or if you're Stu Baylor, you're trying to catch a glimpse of Grant Davis, but this kid is sending it. There's no conservative riding, no worried about taking his time. He is pinned, carrying great speed, and looking good out here today, trying to get himself an overall victory. Obviously was not on that overall podium from round 1 at Big Buck, was up in position to battle for a podium overall and in the XC2 class, having some struggles later in the race, pushing himself further back in the overall. Now we see the 514 of Baylor. Again, you can see those we used to call elephant ears, mud mucker handguards hanging down, trying to keep the grips and the hands a little bit drier, be able to hang on. Segan looks like he got some fresh goggles there so he could see a little better, but he is in pursuit of the young Grant Davis out front, but leading the way in XC1.
Yeah, again, I've been on the outside looking in so far this year, and these XC2 boys have really stepped it up. They have been, well, I mean, they obviously won the first round and been up front for all year. I guess Stu and Johnny and everybody, the rest of us guys in XC1 got some got some stepping up to do. These boys have come to play this year.
Well, speaking of XC1, on screen, the second place rider in XC1, that is Ricky Russell on that Triumph machine. You can see him ducking in close to that brush, trying to find some drier ground. Then it is Johnny Gerard on the big number 1 FMF Red Bull KTM, followed by Josh Strang, Craig DeLong, and hard to
might have been DeFeo right there.
Looks like Draper, maybe.
Yeah, there's, you can see now they're all come together. There's Witkowski. That is a lapped rider there, but man, that is a big mix of XC1 and XC2 altogether. About 7 riders pretty much wheel to wheel, and you can see all of them trying to really favoring those insides, trying to find some drier ground. You're not going to find dry ground right now, but there's a little more grip on the edges than there is in the middle of kind of the just absolutely sloppy center of the track right now.
And from pedaling, as I recall, I remember the wettest part of this track being the first several miles. That PM bike only was pretty high and dry, but up to that and then after that was all the low-lying swampy stuff. So I'd say if anything's going to change, it'd probably be coming in the next few minutes.
That looks to be Cody Barnes out of that XC2 class. We'll see where he checked in after 1 lap complete. Looks like still only 17 riders have checked in. So we've got actually Cooper Jones out of the 250A class has checked in, as well as Chase Landers. They're running 1 and 2 and 15th and 16th overall on time correction. So now with 17 riders checked in, Lyndon Snodgrass made his way through in that XC1 class as well, trying to go ahead and back up some pretty good rides he's had to start the season. Try to gain some points today, try to claw his way or stay inside that top 20 overall as they run with 2 laps complete, with an elapsed time of about 1 hour and 12 minutes. So it'll be interesting to see. I don't know if we got a 2-lap card or a white flag. With the lap times the way they are with 40 minutes, you know, we're told this is going to be give or take a 2-hour race. Will be interesting to see if this ends up being 3 laps or 4 laps. 2 miles in, we're told that the leader is on the way towards our camera shot. We'll be watching for that FMF Red Bull KTM of Grant Davis, and there he is. Goggles have come off. He had goggles in our last camera shot, so that just goes to show you nobody in front of him roosting him, just some lapped riders and the mud he slings up himself. Still not able to keep goggles on, and if he's not able to get goggles throughout the rest of this lap, that is a long 9.5 miles that he's going to have to ride without goggles to get back to the technically, I'm sorry, the pro pit area is about the 7-mile marker, so he's got 5 miles until he comes into the pits, and likely may see some fuel taken on, and definitely, surely will get himself some fresh goggles. And now we're joined in the booth. Mikey Wayne's back in here with us, and Stu Baylor on screen, leading the way in XC2, and second place physically on the track. After time correction with 2 laps down, he was sitting in that number 4 spot in the overall.
So here we are again, another race. XC2 guys out here. Maybe the weather playing a factor in that. We wanted everybody kept saying coming into this weekend, hey, this is an old school GNCC, and some of those shots confirmed, by the way, 4-lap race.
Johnny Gerard has made it around Ricky Russell, does still have goggles on, so the number 1 machine up to the 3rd place spot physically. Craig DeLong has also made it around Ricky Russell, so has Nick DeFeo, so has Josh Strang. So Ricky Russell definitely losing some time. That was the 2:06 of Toth, then Russell, then Draper, and Witkowski. So that, just like that, about 10 riders past that shot, and they are all just jockeying for position and battling, trying to get to the front because they don't want to be eating roost from the rider behind them.
Well, what I was going to say was we wanted old school GNCC, and this looks about as Blackwater 100 as it gets. We got bikes buried up to the seat and handlebars. We got single file pros, and there's another example of it right there. Just find a line and go with it.
You know, the dirt here at Talladega is really good dirt. When I was out pedaling around, especially on Thursday and Friday, checking things out, it was, guys are putting up, pictures and videos and calling it hero dirt and ground coffee and all this stuff. Well, that's all well and good until it rains like this, and then that becomes that heavy mud, and you can see a lot of these guys, parts of the machines almost hanging down. Looks like that could possibly be, that is Chase Landers, I believe. The 254, your 250A leader, and as we talked about, running up inside the top 15 overall in that 15th place spot, followed by Cooper Jones, also out of that 250A class. Give those guys a little love. The 250A guys getting well up into the overall. Not what we saw at Big Buck, where they were inside the top 5, I believe 5th and 6th for JoJo Cunningham. Well, that's a interesting line way over there. He's just trying to get around the course. He's going to go as far as he needs to try to make it through.
Yeah, it was nice and dry.
That may have been JoJo Cunningham right there. If we refresh, we'll see if he did check in. Let's see. We'd have to scroll down. Yep, JoJo Cunningham in the 17th place spot overall, which bumps Lyndon Snodgrass, Jonathan Johnson, and Brody Johnson down, XC1 and XC2 riders. Toby Cleveland, the first rider that has not checked in, but we did see, I believe, he possibly, his transponder may not have been working on lap number 1 because he didn't pop up, and then they had to maybe manually enter him in later. So we'll keep an eye on that, see if he pops back into the overall running order. I think we may have one of the Johnson brothers on screen. That was the 235, I believe, of Brody Johnson.
I'd say that's John, maybe? No, that's a gas.
Yep.
Sorry,
Jason Tino, I think. Looks like the 226 of Tino to me. It is. You can tell by the eyes there. He had not checked in, but now that we look, and boom, he pops up on screen, running outside the top 20 overall, back there in the 22nd spot. Lane Whitmer now, our 3rd place in that 250A class. Sorry, 4th place. JoJo Cunningham in 3rd. Lane Whitmer, 22nd overall, and Tino in 21st. So we've got two 250A riders and a whole slew of XC2 guys inside the top 20, and most of our XC1 Pro class has now completed 2 laps of racing.
You know, it's crazy, Johnny. We were talking off air with Evan and with Jordan Ashburn, and it sounds like we did just see Miss Grant Davis rolling by here, but this mixes things up. Like a day like today, we now 2 of our first 3 races have been conditions like this, and the XC2 guys up into the mix really changes things up as far as the point standings are concerned.
Yeah, absolutely. And Stu Baylor, speaking of point standings, needs a good day today. You know, not the points that he wanted either out of no points at all at round 1, and surely not the finish that he wanted at round 2. But today, sitting up 4th place overall, ideally not where he would want to be, but almost becoming that top XC1 guy in races like this becomes a challenge. But he's got some heat from behind from the number 1 of Johnny Gerard, and now here comes the rest. That was Toth there. You could tell by the water pack. Liam Draper, Mike Witkowski. And there's Ricky. Oh, yep, they had gotten around Ricky. So Ricky was the rider who dropped back.
I'm impressed.
Evan, can you pick them out as well as Johnny does?
We were talking about it maybe 5 minutes ago, man. I've spent so much time around these guys on the track, and I have absolutely no idea.
Well, it's a lot easier when you're riding with them because you kind of get to know who's in front of you, who's around you. At this, we're kind of bouncing from camera shot to camera shot. There's certain things you got to look for, but it's definitely challenging in a mud race like this.
Respect, man, respect.
Now looks to be Ben Kelly there on the 530 machine. You can tell by those handguards there. And according to live timing and scoring, just behind him would have been Caleb Russell, which we did just see a Yamaha come through there. That was possibly...
Yeah, this is a great ride shaping up by Chase and Cooper coming out of the A-Class. They're definitely making some moves.
Gus Reardon, we haven't talked a lot about him, but he is up in the mix as well for a potential podium position in that XC2 class and potentially a podium overall, sitting back there in that 8th place spot, but not far, only 7 seconds behind Cody Barnes. Cody Barnes, another rider that we did just come through on screen there. Man, what a mix-up as they run right now. It's definitely...
They're in the Yahtzee shaker right now. We're shaking it up.
Every time we see him, they're swapping positions.
So things are rolling right through. Mile marker number 4, going to be a 4-lap race for us here today. And, of course, the XC2, the big storyline coming out of this one with Josh Toth leading the way. It's going to be spectacular. Grant Davis leading the way. We'll have more right after this.
On Track School is an online private school catering to some of the top athletes in the world. We offer a flexible schedule for students that are chasing their dreams and always on the go. We are an accredited K-12 school where students can graduate with a diploma. Scan the QR code or call us to book an appointment with one of our learning coaches to discuss your student's next steps.
Check it out.
We've been there since the very beginning.
20 left, the main event, the mud, the blood, the beer.
Organizing the industry and building champions. "100 years of defending your rights to ride into the future."
Community, family, teamwork. It's what we have stood on for over a decade. Hauling might be what we do at the surface, but it's much deeper than that. Because what you need matters. When you need a haul, give us a call at 724-852-4488. For 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, we at JD Enterprises are prepared to serve you.
It takes commitment, passion, and endurance to make something great. Made by champions, for champions.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized e-turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready.
Well, as you look around a GNCC race, it is hard to ignore the fact that there are more than enough RVs, campers, motorhomes, you name it, and Progressive Campground, a special little segment where we get to take a look. We kind of get to take a tour of the property. That is here in Talladega. Save money on all your insurance needs. Of course, we think automobiles, we think motorcycle insurance, but look at all the RVs. Scan the QR code on racertv.com. Get yourself a quote from Progressive and save some money on your camper and RV insurance. This is something... We ran a similar segment at Mini O's, and boy, very successful, and I think folks saved a lot of money by making the switch. So do yourself a favor. Scan that QR code. Check out Progressive. Get yourself a quote today on your RV and camper insurance. Hey, throw the automobiles in there, the motorcycles, a little bit of everything. Well, fellas, it's no secret the XC2 having some major success last year, having success coming into this season, and more of it here today. We had a chance to catch up with some riders from the XC2 and the XC1 to get their opinions on what it's like racing from row number 2.
XC2, I think, because you can catch the guys and like latch onto like a Stu Baylor or somebody. Like I always target them guys that, like, because Stu normally he's normally in the back of the pack on the starts, so I target to catch them, and I just hook onto him and try to go to the front with them, and then I know when I'm up there I have a 30-second to a minute buffer on them guys and then I just stay there and try to, it helps a lot, honestly.
Yeah, definitely. I was in that class, and now going up to XC1, I should see how it was easier to latch on to the back end of XC1. There's 10 of us and they're a minute behind. You put 10 seconds between each guy, there's your minute. And you can stop picking them off one by one. And these tracks where we got a bike-only section for 2 or 3 miles, I led my first XC1 race, and now I know what it's like to lead break-in trail. And once there's 10 bikes there, it's a lot easier for them XC2 boys to catch. So I think the opening few laps for us now in XC1 are probably going to have to get a little faster to bridge that gap in between the guys. But no, I foresee it happening again and them catching on to us pretty quick.
They used XC1 as markers, and they've definitely gotten more strategic over the last couple of years. And I think they've paid attention to what they needed to do to put an entire race together, and that's exactly what they did. But As far as the XC1 class, like, yeah, I would love to see the progression like we used to, where about 17 you were going to XC1, but things have definitely changed. Times have changed, and you know, XC2 is definitely fast. But when I grew up racing, it was 18 years old and you wanted to be out of that class. Like, you were trying to get to that front line. And now, I think with the television and other things, the XC2 class has become more of a career class, and it made me upset at the beginning, but now it is what it is. I've learned to accept it, and hell, now we're creating opportunities with it.
So some different perspectives there. I like what Stu is saying, Johnny. I don't have to go into depth what we were talking about off air, but I don't know if you call it a problem. Is it a good problem to have? Is it a bad for GNCC? I mean,
no, I don't think it's a bad thing for the sport, for the series, by any means. But I think at this point, there's no argument that being an XC2 rider has a big advantage.
Yes.
I mean, across the board, whether you're an XC1 or an XC2 rider, everyone is saying the same thing. Like, the way the races are panning themselves out right now, the way the tracks are set up, like they talked about with the bike-only section, there's so many different factors that come into play. It's not just a small advantage anymore. Yep. It's become a huge advantage.
Enormous.
Where it used to kind of work itself out in the end was the XC2 guys didn't have the stamina. They didn't have the racecraft. They were still learning. Well, that learning curve has been all but erased by the things we talked about. The factory support that goes all the way down into the youth ranks, the training facilities available to these riders, and the knowledge of how to train and how to approach these races with mental coaches and riding coaches and all this other stuff. So these guys have all the same tools available to them.
Yep.
They have the best of the equipment, and they're excellent riders. They've learned to study GNCC since they were 5, 6, 7 years old, and now they get this time advantage. So they're playing with house money. It's just one of these things that it's an evolution of the sport. I don't know if it's good. I don't know if it's bad, but it is. It is a thing, and it is a massive advantage, especially in conditions like this, starting on row 2. You know, those guys, they got to just be sitting there licking their chops going,
yes,
we'll get into this bike-only section. We're going to be mid-pack of XC1 by halfway through the first lap, and just ride on cruise control the rest of the race and key off those guys. We talked about, you heard Stu Baylor talk about they have markers, what certain guys that they're aiming for. Grant Baylor said Stu Baylor is one of the guys I'm aiming for. I know he's going to have likely a bad start, maybe not be super far up front, but he's a rider that will charge late. So if I latch onto him, I can just follow him to the front. And kudos to them for figuring that out as a younger rider, 18, 19, 17, 16 years old.
Yeah.
It's just they figured it out. They know how to use it, and it's a game, man. They're playing chess.
You know what's interesting is it's not a problem unique to GNCC. I think it's amplified at GNCC because our riders are out there at the same time. We've mentioned this, maybe it was even round 1. I said, we heard it about Jet Lawrence. Well, wait till he gets to the 450s. He's going to have a wake-up call. Jet Lawrence just did what Jet Lawrence does. He went out there and he kept winning. And then the same thing with Danger Boy. Hayden Deegan comes into the 250s, and it's like, oh, you're with the big boys now. Let's see how you do out of the amateur ranks. And he just kept winning. So the younger riders, like you said, they're just more prepared. They've been groomed by the manufacturers from the youth ranks, and they're just better prepared. So,
well, I think that we're told our leader, Grant Davis, we do believe just came by at the 6 mile marker. We'll watch for the 5:14 of Stu Baylor and the whole rest of XC1 and a few XC2 riders mixed in there, basically nose to tail. But I think the next evolution of the sport is how do you figure out kind of where things fall into place.
Yeah.
Do you leave the structure as it is? If that's the case, and ultimately it's what the fans want, what the manufacturers want, what the sport wants. Right now, XC2 has that massive advantage. So what do you do and how do you structure things to even the playing field a little bit? I don't know. I don't have the answers, but I know those are ongoing conversations and have been for many years. You heard it was very taboo words a few years ago. Looks like Stu Baylor possibly there all the way off to the far inside. Career class. Didn't want guys to kind of stop at that XC2. Wanted the progression to continue and to have guys work their way up. Grant Davis on screen now.
Getting those goggles finally.
Yep, getting goggles. He did not have goggles on for the last several camera shots. Looks like he's going to take some hydration as well. No fuel, so maybe he already fueled last lap. And again, we do know we're working with basing off a 2-hour time clock, but we have been told a 4-lap race, so they will be a white flag waving when they come through this next lap with 3 laps complete.
And Johnny, just to clarify on that XC2 class, can you point out of the XC2 class?
No. As it stands right now, the way that it essentially works on bikes, former champions from different series were exempt, and there was a lot of things, but that's, Stu Baylor having a little issue there, looking like he stalled that machine, that was interesting. I ended up possibly, still got it going again, and now he comes in looking like they're going to spray the bike off. He's taking some fresh goggles. You can see, looking at the hands there, you can tell just how slick it is. They're spraying off, looks like maybe the rear brake system, or could just been the rear wheel, and he is off and rolling. Goggles strap all tangled up there, and you can see him kind of fighting the handlebars down through there. That shows you just how thick that mud is working through that 7-mile marker pit area, and he will now pop up into this camera shot at the FMF PowerPoint. No, it is different from Supercross and Motocross, Jackson, in that regard. Now Johnny Gerard on screen coming in looking like he's going to take some fresh goggles. Didn't even get him all the way in. Doesn't want to give up a position, so he's just hard on the throttle and out, blocking off the 246 of Nick DeFeo there. And now Stu Baylor in that FMF PowerPoint just on the other side of the pro pit area. So that's kind of what Stu was talking about with the career class situation. Guys getting there and saying, I don't want to move up to XC1. I just want to stay here.
I've got Stu Baylor into the banner. Sorry to interrupt there, Johnny. Right around his helmet, too.
Yeah, that was interesting. Trying to make a line around there, ended up on the wrong side of the banner, correcting himself, getting back on course in the FMF PowerPoint. Shows you just how challenging some of those ruts are. Looks like maybe Josh Toth in the Red Bear Rocky Mountain ATV-MC pits taking some towels, and he's almost motioning that he does not have any rear brakes, it looks like. So that's going to be valuable time lost for Toth here. Was running up in that third place spot overall, but as riders continue to roll by, there is Witkowski on that number 8 Phoenix Racing Honda, making moves, making passes, dropping his hydration bottle. Don't know if he was done with it or just deciding, hey, it's time to go. There is Josh Strang on that factory beta machine. Feet on the pegs. Josh Strang putting on a click. Craig DeLong in the foreground. You can see, look how slow, taking their time. You can see how deep that rut is, wanting to make sure before they commit to it. Look like possibly Draper there. Oh, look at this. Now this is the problem here. Now that course was momentarily completely blocked by this rider and we know Josh Strang and some of the other riders trying to work their way through. There is Ben Kelly, I believe, having to go around the outside there. That really mixes things up when you get just one line blocked in like that.
Yeah, almost 2 lines. Carl strutted into that line right there, now up against a tree. You can see just how difficult it is.
Gus Reardon on screen, XC2 rider working his way through. Don't know if we didn't see Josh Toth. That may mean that either Cody Barnes or Gus Reardon may have taken over that podium position in the XC2 class. Caleb Russell on screen, taking some hydration, some fresh Scott goggles, and off on his way. Man, when you see and now he's gotten around his teammate Draper. Man, what a mix-up, what a shake-up.
A wild day in Talladega, no doubt.
When we saw Craig DeLong, sitting there looking at that rut, that just shows you just how challenging some of these sections of racetrack obviously are. Man, taking their time, just making sure they don't commit to a rut that they're going to end up stuck in. We saw that rider earlier with the front end straight up in the air. Now on screen, it is Russell and Draper in super speed, fast motion. Oh, Josh Toth still, I believe it is Toth. I don't know if we've got confirmation, but to me it looked to be Josh Toth. If we could get them just to rinse off that front number plate, we could know for sure.
Last priority.
It
looks like 2.
It could be 2. The problem is 206, 246, both of their XC2 riders with very similar numbers. If we can get a...
Zach is on his way down there to the Cowie pits. We'll get some confirmation.
I'm pretty certain it's Toth. I do think we saw DeFeo go by. We saw the back of the jersey, but it was muddy as well. Could have mixed up the numbers. Looks like they're maybe going to do a full rear brake system swap here as they're cleaning that. Now they're washing the seat off just to allow him to get a little more grip on that machine. Likely going to try and go out. We know today, quickly becoming a survival race. Anything you can do, obviously running in that third, whether it's DeFeo or Toth, they were both running inside the top 3 overall. We know it's one of the two. I do believe it is Toth. And he's now going to drop well outside that top 3 and even outside that top 10 overall. But even if he can cling to any points inside the top 20, he's a rider that's running very well up inside the... is Josh Toth. You can see the 7 on the gloves. That is Josh Toth there on that Red Bear Rocky Mountain ATV MC team. They're doing some work to that machine to get him back out again to try to salvage points here today, fellas.
And Johnny, not uncommon, obviously a sense of urgency here in the Cowie pits for Josh Toth to get him going again. We haven't talked about the possibility in conditions like this. We've seen guys blow bikes up.
Sure.
So this is one of those, if Toth can make the change here, yeah, he's going to be way back in that top 20, but an opportunity perhaps to salvage.
Well, and to your point, while we're talking about those top 20 points, Josh Toth, I was looking for the points, sitting 4th in the overall points coming into today, and 3rd in that XC2 Pro Lights class with 33 overall points, only 6 points out of the overall lead, which was his good buddy, Ben Kelly. Now they are rolling that machine backwards. Interesting. I guess just...
What a mess.
Oh, they're bump starting it. It won't fire.
Get that man some goggles. Oh, man, this is just... This is one of those, your seconds feel like minutes here.
Yeah. Great camera shot, but obviously not a great situation for Josh. You can see he was kind of sliding on the tarp there, so maybe they'll try to find a little bit better grip, try to find some grass there to bump start that machine. They can take it outside the confines of the race course. That is within the rules, but they're going to try it again right here under the tent.
That machine just not seeming to want to fire off.
Absolutely torturous for Josh Toth. You got to feel bad for the guy running solidly inside the top 3 overall in that 3rd place position. And this is the science of GNCC here, sponsored by Red Bear Rocky Mountain ATV MC. They're going to do everything they can to try to get this machine back out on the course and get this rider an opportunity to earn some points. I'm imploring them to please move that off of that very slippery tarp there that is causing that rear wheel to not grip traction. On screen at the 9-mile marker, now 2 miles further ahead, is your leader, Grant Davis. You can see he got those. The only clean part of him is those goggles, which he stopped and got in the pits just a moment ago. Still leading the way physically and by a good bit on corrected time. 1 minute 14 seconds was his lead last we checked over Nick DeFeo in that overall. See Grant Davis, that left side radiator shroud hanging way out there, obviously sign that he has made contact with the tree, but not slowing him down 1 minute. You can see, look at these lap riders looking back and saying, they're probably hoping to see a checkered flag when they come through, but they're actually going to see a white. Look at that. Stu Baylor has made up quite a bit of ground. That was Stu as we went away from that camera shot, and they're still trying to bump start Josh Toth. Got a lap rider here.
Waiting on Stu to come into that shot.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to get way outside, get some clean running room, get the grass, get some traction to be able to move yourself forward. I really think the rider we saw when we cut away from that shot was Stu Baylor.
Okay.
I can't say 100% for certain, but in the quick glimpse I caught of him, it looked like it may have been, and it was not, because there is Stu Baylor. We can clear that up. That is your leader in the XC1 Pro class, and now we're going to make an assumption, 3rd place overall, as we have lost Josh Toth from this lead battle. He is about 2 miles still behind in the pits, trying to get that machine refired to rejoin the race. They stopped to look like possibly do some work to the rear brake system, and were unable to get that machine refired. They're trying to bump start it feverishly, and just on cue, still trying to bump start this machine to get it refired.
That's heartbreaking for Toth right there.
Johnny Gerard, second place in XC1 and fourth place overall. And then the 246 of DeFeo, likely still in that number 2 spot overall and second place in that XC2 Pro Lights class.
Just past these guys, if am I mistaken, or is that like our freight train of about 5 riders?
It's getting broken up.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I'm going to jump in real quick down here just in case Josh has to do a dash and run. Josh Toth down here at Rocky Mountain Red Bear Tent. Tell us what's going on, what happened, and what makes you find yourself here right now.
Yeah, a few miles back, I just must have went through a rut and grabbed my shifter and ripped the shifter off. And, yeah, I looked down and saw an oil leak and no shifter. So I've been struggling this lap, but, yeah, riding okay till now, but hopefully we get it sorted. But yeah, we worked on the shifter and then went to start it and it went fire. So we're going to try to pop it and see what we can do.
Let's get back to work. Thanks for the time, Josh Toth. Recovered Rocky Mountain Red Bear team still not giving up yet on the 206 machine. Hopefully he'll be able to get back out there.
Looks like Ben Kelly on screen now at the 9-mile marker. The 530 machine putting in a good charge this last lap, trying to make up some ground. Was sitting back in that 13th place overall, has passed quite a few riders. Looks like he may have actually made his way around that freight train we were talking about, but we'll continue to watch the camera and see if that is the case. We know Mike Witkowski, we know he has gotten around Liam Draper, and there that is Gus Reardon behind him, now third place in that XC2 Pro Lights class after Josh Toth, the documented struggles that they've been having there, trying to get that machine back out on the course. Gus Reardon assumes that position. I think that may be Cody Barnes. Yep, Cody Barnes, fourth place in the XC2 Pro Lights class on that Phoenix Racing Honda. Tall rider using his height to his advantage, kind of balancing that machine. And then a couple of lapped riders as they work through, and that shows you just how challenging we talked about this course is. These riders balancing their upper body, shifting from side to side on the machine, doing everything they can to try to find traction, try to find stability is the big thing, especially in these sloppy conditions. Looks to me to be Ricky Russell on that Triumph machine, so definitely lost some ground, but still charging, still inside the top 10 overall. Now we know these guys should be working their way towards the next camera shot, I believe, at the 11-mile marker. Grant Davis probably be getting there soon. Lapped rider. Man, these ruts just continue to get deeper, and you can see all the roots sticking out there, boys. That's even more challenging because what happens, the dirt kind of gets eroded, chewed out between the roots, and then you have these pockets where your tire falls down in, and you have to climb a very slick route to even get to the next section of trail, wreaking havoc during our morning class. You can see right there, our camera guy's doing a great job. You know, that hole maybe not the worst of them, but that is what happens in the woods when your dejected rear wheel gets stuck in one of those holes. It just takes so much strength. That mud is so heavy, so sticky, it just kind of suction cups the bike down in. It takes so much strength and force to break that grip that the mud has on your machine and get it out to be able to continue with your race. It can just take all of what's left of your energy.
It's just, it speaks volumes to what these guys are going through out there. Johnny, perspective on a mud race. You know, this is virgin territory for us, brand new track. A mudder on a new track we've never raced on, or a track that we've been on like a John Penton where we've been there multiple times. What is tougher? I mean, does it make a difference?
A brand new track, way
just because of the roots.
The roots, but also, so what happens is once you run the ground in and you run a race on it, and then obviously the great GNCC track crew goes back and reclaims it. So that's going to be now chewed up by dirt bikes and ATVs. Then it's going to be, so it's going to get packed in that way. Then they'll push it back in with a dozer and run it back in. A lot of times they'll even reseed it. So ground that's been healed up actually becomes firmer, becomes more packed in. You have established trails. When you have, as you called it, virgin ground, it just, there's no bottom to it a lot of times. It just, you can dig so much deeper and the dirt is just fresh and untouched. Once you get down to those tree roots, it makes it a lot it makes it a lot easier to kind of find the bottom and have a firm bottom where it won't get any deeper. So yeah, a brand new track, so challenging when you have a mud race like this, not only for the track the riders to navigate, but the track crew to reclaim, and then also just, I mean, the carnage, the fallout, it's just, it's brutal, as you can see on screen.
We just got information, Zach Herron returning back into the TV truck here, and Josh Toth out. That is going to do it for him for the day. And that sucks for Josh. That absolutely sucks.
I mean, second place at round 1, 13th overall at round 2 after some struggles, but still sitting in a solid 4th place in the overall point standings coming into today. Obviously, he's going to make a pretty significant drop in that point standings. A bummer. He was running well, sitting in 3rd place in the overall prior to his bike issues.
And you give it, apples to apples. It was this round last year, Georgia, where we saw Josh Toth in an abbreviated race, a mutter, take that overall from the XC2 class. So, boy, what a difference a year makes.
There we go. And that is Grant Davis on screen, pushing the pace with a pretty sizable lead over his nearest competitor, which is the XC1 rider of Stu Baylor, making assumptions and making guesstimates, looking like Stu Baylor will have taken over that 3rd place spot in the overall. If he continues to run the way we saw him just a couple of miles ago at the 9-mile marker, he will get around his now eliminated from the race teammate Josh Toth, even with that time correction, and I do believe he will have a big enough lead over Gus Reardon to maintain that 3rd place spot in the overall.
We've not talked about it too much. We look at the XC1 podium as it would stand right now with Stu Baylor, Ricky Russell.
We know Ricky Russell has dropped back.
Oh, that's right. Yep. Never mind. Forgive me. Yes, that was correct.
A lot of racing.
I was going to sing my praises for Ricky on the Triumph.
Well, he's still in the mix, but
he is in the mix.
Yeah,
so
Johnny Gerard is up to that number 2 spot.
That's right.
And I believe I don't know where Josh Strang fit in on that last camera shot. I don't recall. I think he may actually be 3rd in that XC1 class.
You're right.
Craig DeLong, a rider we didn't see come through that camera shot at the 9, but there was a lot of back and forth. No alarm if you're a Craig DeLong fan. Hopefully we'll be able to watch, at least our top 5 or so come through. And here is your 2nd place rider on track. 3rd place on corrected time, Stu Baylor on that Red Bear Rocky Mountain ATV MC Kawasaki team.
Wow.
So a minute 27 plus the time correction. But look at this. Johnny Gerard on the charge nearly has Stu Baylor in his sights. He's just up there out of view, and Gerard trying to track down the XC1 leader. So that is 2nd place in XC2 and 3rd or 4th overall. We'll wait and see. I think this should be T-Rex, maybe?
I think that was.
Look like it. So that would be 2nd place overall and also 2nd in the XC2. He's definitely still close enough to both Stu and Johnny that if that was him, he will be well within that time correction, that he will have those guys eclipsed on corrected time. And then it is Craig DeLong. So there you say, just because you don't see him on screen doesn't mean he isn't there. There's the 3:42 of DeLong, followed closely by the 8 of Witkowski. So that is 3rd and 4th in that XC1 class. And 5th and 6th, there is Strang on that factory beta. Great ride for Josh Strang today.
Yeah, Strang got to be feeling good. Not trying to think. Was it, round 2. That's where he had the troubles. Unable to score any points in Florida. So Strang got to be feeling good today.
I actually had an opportunity to talk to him. He said it was just a small issue with a bare wire, I believe it was, rubbed through. They were able to find it, but obviously, like you said, losing valuable points, trying to get back out there to salvage some points, unable to do so, could not make it back into the top 20. And now, Gus Reardon, that is your 3rd place rider in that XC2 class.
Goggles off for Angus.
And behind him is the 530 of Ben Kelly. So that would be 5th. I believe.
I think so.
In that XC1 Pro class and 8th overall.
Nearing the completion. Oh, how about that?
So Grant Davis has already checked in, and this is Stu Baylor for a white flag waving, meaning one more lap around this very, very, very challenging Talladega race course. Grant Davis checked in with 42 minutes and 13 seconds. So we talked about those long lap times. Well, they just keep getting longer. Now Cody Barnes on screen, another one of our XC2 riders. Stu Baylor checked in with 3 laps complete. Johnny Girard checked in 5 seconds behind Stu Baylor, so the battle for the XC1 lead is on, and right now those guys second and third place overall, but we know that Nick DeFeo was very close behind him, and just like that, Nick DeFeo checks in 2 minutes and 3 seconds behind Grant Davis, but still holding on to that second place overall. So Grant Davis, much like we saw with Nick DeFeo, the rider behind him at round 1, a massive lead in the overall. If we go to a lapse time, the 1:54.48 is Grant Davis's lap time to 1:57.38. So 2 minutes and 50 seconds is the gap that Grant Davis, not Nick, has over Stu Baylor in the overall right now.
Absolutely incredible.
2 minutes 50 seconds, and 2 minutes and 3 seconds over Nick DeFeo, the second place rider in that XC2 class. I mean, at this point, Grant Davis just needs to keep it upright and moving in the right direction, but the race course challenging. When we say that's all he needs to do, that is still a monumental task in these conditions with this race course today.
Keep the bike in one piece. We've seen several riders stuck in these very, very deep ruts.
Man, Mikey, you see him lay it in through there.
Yeah, just laying it all out there, man. Just, it's fun to watch.
Sure is. You can see just how heavy that bike is as he makes his way around. Those fenders flapping with mud on them.
I think this is one thing guys are going to remember for a while. That first year at Talladega. Hopefully not our last year after this weekend.
So can confirm that Stu Baylor now third overall and Johnny Girard fourth, as Gus Reardon checks in third place in that XC2 Pro Lights class, putting him in fifth place overall. So now we have a mix of XC1 and XC2 in the top four there, two each, with Gus Reardon and then Craig DeLong, Mike Witkowski, Josh Strang, Ben Kelly rounding out the top 9 as we wait for the rest of the field check-in. Still, Ben Kelly, the last rider, checked in with 3 laps complete, not yet quite filling out the top 10 overall here to start this last lap of racing. Now it is Cody Barnes who checks in the 9th place spot overall, and Ben Kelly 10th. So that is your running order, top 10 as they run.
Stu Baylor, that's the second time, kind of uncharacteristic of Stu, looking over that left shoulder, wants to know where the guy behind him is.
Well, I think that's because he knows it's Johnny Girard, the big number 1 machine coming after him. Stu Baylor desperately wanting to get this XC1 win and get himself on the overall podium to gain some points. We talked about that, well documented. Some struggles through the first 2 rounds of racing, boys. Stu Baylor needs max points, and right now he would be looking to collect 21 points for that 3rd place overall finish. He does not want to let Johnny Girard, the rider who collected 30 points just a week ago in Florida, get around, because he wants to fight him for an overall championship, and he can get some valuable points if he's able to keep Johnny Girard behind him.
You know, it's interesting, Johnny, we were talking, you and I, off air. This is almost a make-or-break day for Stu Baylor. He cannot let another race get away with him without scoring some valuable points. So Stu, I think of anybody, really needs this ride today.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, he definitely needs, not even necessarily the overall podium, but he just needs to score as many points as he can. There we see Nick DeFeo on screen, the 246 machine, round 1 overall winner. Some struggles in Florida, but looking to put it back on the overall podium here today in the number 2 spot. Is a lapped rider there. Looks like we do now have a few more riders checked in the overall. Ricky Russell checking in that number 11 spot on that Triumph machine, and Liam Draper checking in the number 12 spot overall. And now we see on screen Craig DeLong, no goggles already, and just kind of starting out here on the final lap of racing, and just behind him is the 8 of Mike Witkowski. So those two guys doing battle over what is 3rd and 4th place in that XC1 Pro class, and both of those guys sitting in the 6th and 7th place overall positions after the time correction of those XC2 riders. Grant Davis on screen, a little further ahead, 2 miles into the racetrack now, continuing to click off mile markers. You can see just how challenging these sections are getting. You can barely see the top half of the bike as the bottom half completely disappears into these very, very deep Alabama ruts.
Talladega, you didn't disappoint. It's been good.
Josh Strang on screen there.
Every XC1 and XC2 guy doing their looking down. Checking things out is Josh Strang. Little look over the shoulder as well.
Strang sitting 8th right now in the overall charts.
Yeah, look at those lap times, though. 43 minutes and 57 seconds. Guys, I don't know that I don't want to say ever, because I'm sure if you dig back through the records of GNCC racing, there's been some races like this, but 43-minute lap times for a rider that's running 8th overall. I mean, there's only three riders that were in the 42s. That was Grant Davis, Nick DeFeo, and Johnny Gerard. Everyone else, 43 minutes and above. You look at Cody Barnes, 44 minutes and 25 seconds in that 9th place overall position. I mean, shows you just how challenging. Cody Barnes on screen, just as we're talking about him. I mean, these are the best motorcycle riders in the world, and they are just frankly flailing around in these conditions. That's how tough it is. They're doing everything they can just to get these machines around the course, let alone try and do so at a high rate of speed.
Yeah, it's been absolute survival mode for every single one of these guys.
So we weren't sure exactly how long this race was going to be. We were expecting around 2 hours in what's supposed to be a 3-hour event. Looks like we're going to pretty much split that down the middle, so somewhere around the 2.5-hour mark should be when we see our first rider through a checkered flag as Stu Baylor on screen once again.
Looking like almost like he wanted to pull those goggles off. Oh, it's the goggle strap again. I'm going to give his crew's going to get a goggle strap seminar. Every race we see his goggle strap all over the place, but I think Stu just wants to get out of the pits so quickly, which I understand. Then we see, wait a minute.
Big smile on his face.
I'm a little confused. That's Johnny Gerard, guys, and we've seen plenty of other racers come through ahead of him in this section. Am I confused about what we're looking at here? Our producer, Adam Gordon. Okay, so Johnny Gerard has lost a whole bunch of time and a whole bunch of positions, now well outside the top 10 overall after being up to near. We should be seeing him right here at the 2-mile marker coming through just behind Stu Baylor, but instead he's back outside the top 10 overall, in danger, honestly, of falling outside the top 15 overall. So something has gone sideways for our second place XC1 rider, Johnny Gerard. As we look at the lap charts, he's now falling back into, the Ricky Russell, Liam Draper, Caleb Russell, and JoJo Cunningham, who are running 12th, 13th, and 14th overall.
So that's Draper on screen. He's just one position ahead of Draper.
There you go. So Draper.
So maybe that wasn't a smile on his face. Maybe that was him gritting his teeth.
So now Craig DeLong, now our second place rider in XC1. And I believe Mike Witkowski just behind him. It is the number 8. So that is now third place in your XC1 class. So that is second and third place in the XC1 class. And that is a left rider coming by there, but carrying pretty good speed. Kudos to that guy. He's latched on to the overall leaders and saying, I'm going to follow these guys. They must have some good lines. So a big shakeup in that XC1 class. Johnny Gerard, who was all the way up to that 4th place spot overall and second in XC1, now falling well behind. And that looks to be a KTM front fender of Gus Reardon. Now,
yeah, not sure if you saw that.
Hitting the deck there just before the 2-mile marker, almost needing some help to get up and go, and taking a look over his shoulder. And what he sees behind him is the 530 of Ben Kelly, one of our XC1 riders, now up into that 4th place spot in the XC1 class. We're having such a time differentiating the overall, the XC1, the XC2. Guys, you can see the running order on screen, and it just goes to show you how quickly things are changing. In less than a mile, we saw Johnny Gerard go from 4th overall to now in danger of falling back near the tail end of the top 15, so losing about 8 to 10 spots in that overall in just a very short section of racetrack. And the thing that's kind of baffling me there, guys, is we saw him come through the finish line. Cody Barnes on screen. That is 4th place in the XC2 Pro Lights class. There's nothing there. It's just a small section of woods and then some fields. So something crazy must have happened with Johnny Gerard for him to lose. Now we see Chase Landers. That is our top 250A rider and top amateur coming through there just before. Another rider going back, giving up. That's a common theme that we're seeing in this camera shot. Riders just saying, nope, I know the pits are this way. I've had enough of this. I'm going to go back and start my trek home, cry myself to sleep tonight, because this is a tough race out here.
Mudfleas earning their keep today. Shout out if you are new to GNCC, you're from Alabama, you can get in there and help those guys if you feel so enabled, and you get your honorary Mud Flea badge.
Chase Landers, now we see JoJo Cunningham on screen. Both of those riders jumping up. Chase Landers all the way up to the 11th place spot in the overall, and JoJo Cunningham 15th with 2 riders checked in from that 258 class. Looks like we have not seen Cooper Jones check in yet. He was our 2nd place rider in that 250A and overall amateur. You know it's getting bad when you see JoJo Cunningham not revving the machine out and taking his time trying to find grip. This is a rider who's never met a throttle cable he did not want to stretch, and he's just not able to do that today. Just got to take your time, find the grip, and be patient.
This rider's still struggling. Welcome to the 50th season of GNCC. We're paying tribute to the Blackwater 100 today.
Matt.
So DeFeo just passing through there, mile marker number 4. Sounds like we missed a couple of guys coming through this section. Or at least Grant. And Stu. So Stu, by the way, going to have some breathing room now with Gerard falling back as he has, but I don't think that's going to make Stu slow down any bit. I think
and he also won't know.
Yeah,
that,
good point. Yeah,
most likely, unless someone tells him on a pit board. I think that may be Snodgrass. It is the 178 of Lyndon Snodgrass, just continuing to sludge along through this mud, and as he checks in 16th place in the overall, 3 minutes and 17 seconds behind Caleb Russell, who's ahead of him there, who's 24 seconds off his teammate. Oh, look at that. That rider finally did get going, got some help from the Mud Fleas. You can see him waving.
Thanks, fellas.
Thanks, fellas. I appreciate all the help to get going. Man, what a challenging race course today. Yeah, able to, on screen, 4 miles in, and that may have been, it was Craig DeLong and then the number 8 of Mike Witkowski. So that is 2nd and 3rd place in the XC1 Pro class. You got to wonder if those guys did see Gerard on the side of the track or stuck or whatever he had going on, and they know that they are now both sitting on the XC1 podium, and still, if things are running the way they were, it would put one of the two of them probably 5th and 6th overall, with Gus Reardon most likely moving up to that number 4 spot. And just like that, there is Ben Kelly, who looks like he's gotten around Angus Reardon there, and that is he's motioning and saying something to that one of the team members on the side of the track, trying to convey some information, pointing at his machine. It almost looked like maybe having some issues. He wants to radio back to the pits and have them prepared at the 7-mile marker when he comes in with either some repair parts or maybe something to spray out the radiators, clean off the grips, whatever it may be. Takes a lot of patience to try to convey that information, but can help the team be ready for you.
All right, so it has been a good one here in Talladega. And taking a look, there is your leader, Mr. Grant Davis, on screen. It has been a great day for him so far as we take a look here at the Yamaha pit. And once again, we'll see if Grant Davis can hold on to it here at Talladega. We'll be back here in just a minute on Racer TV.
Everywhere but the seat. The seat is leather.
Alan, we get it. You love your bike. We do too.
That's why we're America's #1 motorcycle insurer.
But do you have to wedge it into everything?
What? I don't do that. This reminds me of my bike. The Wolf was about the size of my new motorcycle. Have you seen it, by the way? Happy birthday, Grandma!
Really?
Look how the brushstrokes follow the line of the gas tank.
Hey!
Hey! Brought my +1. Jamie.
Every generation believes they've invented the best way. With age comes wisdom. We've come to realize that every piece of knowledge is learned, passed down from those generous and patient enough to teach.
Let's take a look.
Legacy. It's not about leaving something behind to be remembered by. It's realizing that the future lies within the next generation.
Let's call tonight. All right.
The nature of true progress is humbly building something bigger than yourself. Rocky Mountain ATV MC. This is our legacy.
And welcome back to GNCC Live here on RacerTV.com. Talladega, GNCC, all good. We are rolling right through here. We've got what'll be a 4-lap race when it's all said and done here, getting down to the nitty-gritty. And this is a GNCC that is one that I think guys are going to think about for a long time. And we actually had a applicable segment where we ask our GNCC riders, hey, what is one word to describe GNCC?
GNCC racing in one word, I guess I would just say gnarly, or brutal. It's just one of those things where a 3-hour race is a long endurance race, so it's tough on you mentally, physically. For us, we're the last race of the weekend, so the track is really beat up, really worn out, and the competition is tough. So you're having to push, past your comfort level constantly. You just have to be mentally tough and grit it out more than anything.
It's tough. 3 hours is a long time, and a lot of stuff goes through your head, whether it's at the start of the race or, the last lap. It's tough. You're in a battle with other people. You're in a battle with yourself, like who can push through the hardest, push through the tougher the conditions, who's fighting the most pain, because nobody's having a perfect day,
I would say 2 words, mentally tough. I think GNCC is, 70-80% mental, and the other part is obviously got to be in shape, but if you tell yourself you can, you're going to do it, and if you tell yourself you can't and you're tired, then you're not going to do it. So I think describing GNCC would be mentally tough. You need to be mentally strong. There's a lot of fast guys that can go fast for 2 hours. There's a lot of fast guys that can go fast in practice and sprints and all that stuff, but this is a whole different ball game, and I would say mentally tough would describe GNCC for me.
The racing duration here, 3 hours of racing, is gnarly. There's nowhere else you get that kind of consecutive intensity for 3 hours on a track that breaks down and is as technical as they get. Even when we have a smoother track or an easier track, still the intensity factor for the race is it's gnarly. Because the amount of calories you burn and the amount of intensity that's on the track racing head to head, there's nothing else like it.
The only word that really comes to mind is brutal. It is brutal. It kind of, not every race is brutal, but the series as a whole is brutal. 3 hours, give or take, 13 times. It's not like there's a ton of rounds, but there's a lot of racing hours in that 13-hour time span. So it makes you, it really makes you question yourself and figure out what you're made of. That's for sure, especially when it's hot and humid and dry and dusty or muddy, and there's so many different variations and variables that can and will happen eventually, and to keep your body and the bike and your mind in it for 13 times and 3 hours every time. It's tough. So I feel like it's just brutal is the definition, the term I would use.
I mean, family's a pretty good word. Everyone is one big group here, and I can walk onto most of these trucks, and everyone's, happy to see you and excited and wants the best for you. And the same for this team here. It's a big family. We all go to the start line together wanting to beat each other, but once the helmets come off, we're all good friends and hang out and talk. It's pretty cool.
Gnarly, brutal, family.
Yeah. Liam Draper dances the beat of his own drum.
I love that.
Everybody else is talking about heart rates and track breaking down and how challenging and the training, and Liam's like, we have a potluck dinner on Friday night over at the Ampro Yamaha tent, and I just love it. But it is all of those things.
It is, yeah. You're absolutely correct. 457 having a day.
Yeah, he's going to see a white flag and say, no, I don't think so.
I stalling there hoping maybe Grant Davis will roll through here.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see him kind of exit stage left here after he goes through scoring.
Dejected after the helmet wipe.
And he's going to continue.
There you go, buddy. There you go.
Good for him.
That's hanging in there.
He's a broken individual.
Oh,
just like
man.
the rest of us.
Oh, my goodness.
There used to be Moose Racing banner right there.
There was at one time.
I think this, to me, just shows, there's not even a line here. There's just, I try to get the front wheel to go in the general direction of the next corner, and the rear wheel does whatever it wants, and it'll get there someday. It's just fishtails.
Like watching one of those
skid marks.
Internet iced interstates out west where everybody's just, we're surviving. We're all going to slide into each other is what it is.
Yeah,
there you go. Good job.
The rut's getting deeper. The challenge.
If we had ran this a 3-hour race, these guys would have been out there for 3 hours and 45 minutes.
No, 7 hours.
The leaders, I mean. The rest of the guys, Monday morning, they'd finally get wrapped up.
Yep. It's crazy how much. It wasn't that much rain, but it was just enough to really turn what was beautiful dirt into muck. And it's done it quickly. Don't know if we'll get that 9-mile camera shot of our leaders when they make it there. But we are looking here at the 11-mile marker, and you can see just that Play-Doh-y, nasty mud there. Just things looking a little better at the 9-mile marker, but that's only because this camera shot is farther away. If it was up close, it would look equally as disgusting.
That corner there around the woods, I mean, that almost looks like the dirt track across the road at this point. Just get wider and wider.
Takes skill just to make it around this track.
Yep.
Doing it quickly takes a lot of skill. 6-mile marker now, and there is question mark Stu Baylor. Saw those elephant ears hanging down. I think that may be Stu Baylor just coming through. We think we might have missed Grant at the 6-mile marker, and some more A and B class riders working their way through this shot. You can see the goggles around the back of the helmet, getting some extra airflow to help cool them down. Probably doing as much pushing of these machines as they are riding at this point, a lot of these guys.
Getting the workout in today.
Clicking off mile markers, trying to get to the finish. Grant Davis just getting ever so closer to what will be a big overall win for him. The third of his career, if he's able to put the finishing touches on it, and his second straight XC1 win in 2025. 7 days ago in the sands of Florida, taking the XC2 win. Sorry, XC2, not XC1. I think that is Grant Davis there coming through the FMF PowerPoint. Looked like him anyway. We'll see. A lot of KTM codes. Yep, that is Grant Davis there. Looks like he got some fresh goggles on, so he's able to see a little better. Just clicking away, trying to keep things flowing and things rolling. 240 something, but I don't think that was a 246.
That's what I was thinking for a moment.
Is not.
Maybe 276.
Yep.
So waiting on the 514 of Stu Baylor next.
You don't have to wait long. There he is. So he's almost caught back up to Grant Davis. So he's made up a bunch of time. We know he was 2 minutes and 50 seconds when they checked in last lap. Now, keep in mind, there's about a minute of time correction there. So even if he gets to the rear wheel of Grant Davis, he would need to get around him and put a minute on him in the next 4.5 miles of racetrack to contend for the overall victory here today. But the fact that he's almost caught him shows he's setting a really good pace, and he's nearly gotten to Grant Davis. But if you're Grant Davis, you can play it cool on this one. You can even let Stu around and just follow him to the finish as long as you cross the finish line within that time correction. Roundabout, give or take 1 minute. We've talked about this in previous shows. What they'll do is they actually have an official timer at the starting line. When the flag waves for XC1, they start a timer, and they do this for each class the rest of the way back, and then the time correction is the amount of time between the green flags waving. Sometimes it's 45 seconds, sometimes it's right at a minute, but it's always going to be in that 30 seconds to a minute 5, somewhere in there, unless there's an issue on the starts and they have to hold things up.
So I got to thank Grant Davis. You know, to your point, hey, Stu could catch him. But I think Grant is probably of the mindset, you know, after seeing Nick DeFeo get one physically overall, he's probably wanting that physical overall.
Sure, absolutely.
Win.
Is Nick DeFeo the only rider to have ever done that in history?
Right.
Just did it 3 weeks ago at round 1. We are getting word from OPAG, our producer Adam Gordon, 28 seconds. Stu Baylor is behind Grant Davis. We'll use a minute is what we'll use as a rough figure. Obviously, live timing and scoring, we'll update it when they cross the finish line. So if we add a minute plus that 28 seconds, that means that Stu Baylor, has made up half the gap, basically, of what it was a lap ago. And now on screen, we see, is that the 246 of DeFeo?
Yes.
It is. You can see the flag, the towels hanging off. Yep, towels hanging off the hip there. Those were originally to wipe his hands on. I don't think he want to use them for that anymore. So that would be second place in the overall. Maybe still, I don't know, it's been a minute since Stu's been through. Stu may have actually made up enough time to put himself in position to wrestle away that second place in the overall. And that's hard to say. I don't think we've seen Craig DeLong just yet. Looks like some lapped riders coming through. There is DeLong. So that is your second place rider in XC1. And Wachowski still, these two have been, glued together for the last lap and a half. And that is your second and third place riders in the overall, and fourth and fifth in the overall, second and third in XC1. Look at this. Gus Reardon. Did we see Ben Kelly? I did not see.
Man, I don't think so.
Ben Kelly come through. That made.
Oh, and that was him?
Possible.
Was that him?
Don't know. Not sure. Looks like the riding style. It is that. So Ben Kelly just ahead of Gus Reardon. Those two riding together. So that is fourth place in XC1 and third place in XC2. Ben Kelly and Gus Reardon. Cody Barnes, possibly. Barnes making up some ground, getting himself a little bit closer to Gus Reardon, maybe in the mix, wanting to get himself on that XC2 podium. That definitely is Cody Barnes on screen. You can see that Phoenix Racing Honda smoking a little bit, but hopefully he's able to make that machine make it to the finish line. And is that Johnny Gerard now back on the charge, possibly, after losing a whole bunch of time and a whole bunch of positions, trying to make up ground to gain back all the overall positions that he can. Was up into that second place spot in XC1 and fourth place in the overall. He's definitely fallen back. He's closer to the tail end of the top 10, but we saw him at the 1 mile marker. He was closer to the back, just ahead of Liam Draper, who is running in that 13th place overall position after Chase Landers checked in and pushed all of those guys back. Chase Landers out of that 258 class running the 11th place spot overall. A little 2 miles further down the racetrack, we'll wait and we'll watch for the big green number 1, which we won't see, but it's under there, of Grant Davis leading the way physically in this one, and Stu Baylor about 28 seconds behind him physically on the racetrack, give or take about a minute and a half after that time correction. So Stu Baylor on the charge, but man, he's really going to have to twist it if he wants to make up that additional minute and a half to potentially fend himself in position for the overall here today.
And to his credit, he's continued to charge. I mean, this riding with a sense of urgency, and like you were saying, Johnny, may have gotten around. Well, he is physically around Nick DeFeo, obviously, but may have made up that time adjustment. And Stu could use it. He could use a second place finish. Be a little better than the third place today.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, this thing isn't over yet. You know, if you're Stu Baylor, you're Grant Davis, you still have a lot of racetrack between you and the finish line, and a lot of challenging racetrack at that. So Stu Baylor trying to do everything he can to maximize points. We saw Johnny Girard just a week ago.
Just got an update. Zach Heron texting Jackson and I. Sounds like T-Rex Nick DeFeo out of fuel.
Ooh.
So there you go.
That's a problem.
Stu going to inherit that second place.
Well, if he's out of fuel, that could be a bigger problem. Now, this presents an interesting. There's a rule here. If you run completely out of fuel, you can
enough to get back.
Enough to get back, but because in this case the pro pits are. Because we just saw him come through the pro pits. He's already been through that section.
Correct.
So he would be able to get enough to get to the finish line. Now, if he would, I believe, I'm not the rules official, but I've read that rule many times. I believe the way that would work for him is he would not have to stop for fuel after he gets enough to get to the finish line because the pro pits are not before the finish line. Now, if we were going to go another lap, he would need to stop whether he actually needed fuel or not. That is how the rule is written, and the spirit of the rule is you are allowed to get enough fuel to get you either to the finish or to the pro pits, whichever comes first.
So it is all hands on deck for Nick DeFeo, T-Rex. A tight spot.
We likely will be able to get kind of an update on where he slots into the overall here at the 9-mile marker. We're getting a little bit closer to these guys getting here. We last saw them, I think that other camera shot is the 6-mile marker, so about 3 miles further ahead on the racetrack. At the pace of today, normally it would be just a couple of minutes. Today it's going to be about 6, 7 maybe. They're just looking, again, 42, 43-minute lap times for a lot of our front runners. Normally this would be a 30-minute racetrack. So, you know, 50% longer lap times shows you just how challenging these conditions are.
So we wait and we watch. Looking for Grant Davis, Stu Baylor. And sounds like radio chatter saying from our spotter Hollywood, we have got a race out in front. Now, again, like you said, Johnny, Grant Davis has just got to hang with Stu. Stu is directly behind Grant Davis is the report we're getting. So Grant, although maybe pride coming into a little bit, hopefully he is mature enough to say, okay, I really want this. Nope, there it is. Stu Baylor out in front now physically. Now, is there enough racetrack, though, for Stu to make it up?
2.5 miles, but he's made up since, you know, the beginning of the lap, he's made up 2 minutes 50. So he's made up 1 minute and 50 seconds. He's got about another minute, depending on how far Grant Davis is behind him. You can see he's already starting to stretch it out, you know, and if he's able to get away from him, then now suddenly Grant Davis is the one trying to chase a rider he can't see. And we still... There is Grant Davis.
Grant's still in a good spot. Just keep it mostly on 2 wheels. Mostly.
Yeah. Keep it in the direction of the racetrack. Whew, man.
That did look like he was about to veer off to the left there.
Yeah, you can see he's lost his goggles. I wouldn't be surprised to hear that Grant got stuck in that section of racetrack. You know, looking like he was... So there you go, 11 seconds. Now starts the stopwatch the opposite direction. Stu needs to stretch that out. We don't know exactly what the start gap was between XC1 and XC2. We always use 1 minute, but the official timing and scoring will put in the exact down to the second start gap. If we use a minute, if that is the case, give or take, he's going to have to make up another 49 seconds in about 2.5 miles of racetrack. In these conditions, absolutely possible, but if you're Grant Davis, you want to kind of try to reel Stu back in and keep an eye on him just so you know. Otherwise, again, you're just racing this stopwatch, hoping to be close enough to Stu. If you're Stu, the plan is simple, wide open, all the way to the finish line, try to make up as much time as you can, and try to get this overall victory.
And Stu probably doesn't know that his man Nick DeFeo, with the fuel issues, Stu has the room to do that, to stretch it out, because if he makes a mistake right now, if he gets stuck for a few seconds and Grant does pass him, well, it's still the same situation he's in. He only has things to gain if he pushes and can get ahead by Grant to make up for that time difference.
Yep, and you can see the gap that now they have opened up over your third place overall, which should be now either Craig DeLong or Gus Reardon, depending on where they slot in. We'll see. It should be physically, unless Nick DeFeo is able to get fuel very quickly. We assume he's going to get fuel and get back out on track. But unless he's able to do that and stay ahead of Gus Reardon, we're either looking for...
Yeah.
So there we go. So 1 minute 5 seconds was the gap. So actually Stu Baylor with a 11-second advantage right now still needs to make up 54 seconds is what he needs to make up at this point. We thought 49, but that 5 seconds making a difference. So, yeah, we're still continuing to wait and watch for Craig DeLong, Mike Witkowski, second and third place in the XC1 class. Now possibly bumping up to third and fourth place overall, unless, again, you see on screen there Gus Reardon. That looks to be DeLong. It is the 342 of DeLong, second place in the XC1 class, and potentially third place now in the overall.
Good job, Craig.
Let's see if still behind him is the rider that's been glued to his rear fender for the last 2 laps, the number 8, the Phoenix Racing Honda of Mike Witkowski. There's a rider there, and it is the number 8 of Mike Witkowski. Continuing to push. Oh, I think maybe just kind of ducking his head to try to keep the roost out of his eyes. Those guys just following each other. You got to wonder if they like stopped in the woods and had an alliance and said, hey, if I get stuck, you help me. If you get stuck, I'll help you. Let's go to the finish line together. Right now, we've both got a chance to be on the XC1 podium, but also in play now the overall podium for those 2 riders, unless... And now, Johnny Gerard, no, that's Ben Kelly. Ben Kelly has entered the chat. He can see those guys just up ahead of him, 4th place in that XC1 class. And then Gus Reardon, 2nd place now in XC2.
Yep.
So oh man, gonna be close. If it's 1 minute and 5, we'd have to go back and look at the replay, but I think he has Craig DeLong and Mike Witkowski covered on time correction, and then it's Cody Barnes. So now he has moved up to 3rd place in that XC2 class. So now Cody Barnes on the box in that XC2 class, not far behind the 2nd place ride of Gus Reardon. Man, shakeups all over the racetrack here. Late in this one, things continuing to develop and good racing still going on. Johnny Gerard now 4th place. That's where they look like they're struggling. I think it's just so slick there they can't get any forward momentum going. Johnny Gerard now 4th in that XC1 class and 7th place overall.
It's like watching a guy ride a motorcycle on a treadmill in some of these spots. Just absolutely no forward momentum.
Looks to me to be... I was going to say Ricky Russell, but I don't think it is. It's not.
Is it?
That's a
401.
That is, he is actually racing XC1. That is the rider that was...
Oh, yes.
Caden Braswell.
Yes.
Lap down, but one of our...
Good eye, Cam. I was thinking, I'm like, that's not JoJo, but it sure looked like the 501.
He was ripping off the start. He's just gotten lapped by our overall leaders, but still picking his way around the course and doing a great job just to make the laps out there. That's how challenging the conditions are today.
Yeah, well,
so the top 7 have come through 9 miles in here with 3 XC2 riders and 4 XC1 riders. Nick DeFeo dropping out of the overall top positions, running out of fuel. You know that team's scrambling, trying to get fuel to him to get him back going. We'll see where he slots in. We likely won't know exactly with the time correction until they actually cross the finish line, but we as yet have not seen him here at the 9-mile marker. So if you're looking at that running order on the left of the screen, Nick DeFeo continuing to drop down at least to that 8th place overall after time correction. A couple more lapped riders working their way through here. 9 miles in, just a few miles to go, about 2.5 miles. But keeping in mind, 2.5 miles left for these riders. Our leader, Grant Davis, Stu Baylor getting very close to the finish line for sure by now. Very likely getting close to that 11-mile marker shot, which we do have a camera there. And on cue, there we go. We'll hopefully get a split here when Stu Baylor comes through. 11 seconds is what he had over Grant Davis. 1 minute and 5 seconds, the difference between those two at the start of the race. So he's got about another 54 seconds that he needs to put on Grant Davis to potentially an upset for XC1 to win this thing today.
Stu Baylor's got to ride that machine like he's got a cougar on the back of it right now here in Talladega. Let it all hang out.
I can only imagine if, and I'm not wishing anything, but Grant Davis, Stu Baylor, both of their bikes fail in the final corner.
And it's a foot race.
And they're pushing. They have to take their machine. They can't leave it behind.
But can they rip off the transponder?
I'm pretty sure they've
got to push the machine.
There's got to be a rule. It's got to be machine as well. What a 11 miles in, we're waiting, we're watching. Stu Baylor, the 5:14 XC1 leader and physical overall leader, has come from 2 minutes and 50 seconds behind Grant Davis on time correction to now physically leading and marching away from Grant Davis. 11 seconds is what it was 2 miles ago. Stu Baylor, what is the gap? We're going to wait, we're going to watch, and we're going to count it down with you folks. We're going to let you know, can Grant Davis do enough? He needs to cross the finish line within 1 minute and 5.00 seconds of Stu Baylor. Could it come down to fractions of a second? Possibly. Is this a lot of steam coming off that machine? Does not look to be Grant Davis just yet.
Sounds like our spotter Hollywood up to 55 seconds now, the gap.
Oh, look at this.
Maybe some more troubles.
KTM jackets starting to work their way backwards on the course.
Yep.
Has there been problems for the overall leader, Grant Davis? Will Stu Baylor take an upset in the final miles of this one? Wrestling back, never giving up, and now we are told that enough time has passed. Stu Baylor has now eclipsed Grant Davis and is your overall leader.
So how about that? Stu Baylor hanging in there, not giving up, and pushing here late, and it sounds like it may be paying off for him to take an overall lead. And Jackson Burrell just messaged us, said, sounds like there are problems for Grant Davis.
There you go. You saw those guys working their way backwards on the track with a little bit of sense of urgency. Stu Baylor into the final chicanes. As long as Stu Baylor can, if you're Stu Baylor, Stu, push that machine across the line, make it a foot race. If you're going to win Talladega, win it in Ricky Bobby style, baby. You got the time. Nobody else is coming.
No one else is close at this point. There's no way Stu knows that.
He doesn't know. He thinks he's racing for every second.
That's right.
He thinks Grant Davis is behind him. He's trying to get every single second out of this race course and out of his machine.
As a matter of fact, the guys are probably going to let him know when he comes off the track. He's going to be questioning, did I get the overall above Grant Davis? And again, Jackson Burrell on the spot letting us know some issues. Here he comes, a 5.14. Like he's got a cougar on the back of the bike. I can't think of a
tear off in the final
fitting
turn.
Man to win the first ever Talladega GNCC than that man right there.
Oh, and he runs across
Baylor in epic fashion.
Oh, Stu Baylor never disappoints with the theatrics.
Oh my goodness, that's beautiful. He chews Big Red, folks, Stu Baylor.
He is also sponsored by the Jackhawk 9000. So, Johnny Gerard now coming through. Oh, we're told that is Grant. Yeah.
So Stu going to hang on enough. I believe that time gap is going to be good enough. Now, the irony would be, because he jumped off the bike, maybe he ends up a second short. I don't think that's going to happen.
No, I think he's got enough, more than enough time. The scoring loop, he's already come through there.
Yes, correct.
This is just the chicane where they wipe your number, but he's already finished through the scoring chicane, and that blue structure you see in the background is where the transponder loop is. Stu Baylor taking the overall here today. Big win for this man. 30 points and putting himself back in the mix and saying, hey, might have been a rough first 2 rounds, but max points is 30. That's what I'm going home with today.
Well, big congratulations to Stu Baylor Jr., grabbing his first win of the season. And on a serious note, Johnny, again, you and I were talking off air. This is probably a make or break race for Stu Baylor. And let's listen to see what he says. Get the bleep button ready.
Somebody in XC1 called me on the last lap. I was doing my auto check. Johnny was close.
And then he fell back.
So, yeah, again, Johnny, we were talking off air just how pivotal this race was for Stu Baylor. It was, hey, if he comes out here, he has another race where he doesn't score points.
There's Grant Davis. So that'll still be the XC2 win for him and looking like second place overall. You know, Grant will probably be a little dejected after leading virtually this entire race, but an XC2 win is what he needed to get done for himself here today. Ben Kelly on screen now. Don't know if he's made some passes. Nope, still Gus Reardon there right behind him, so it looks like we may have missed Craig DeLong and Mike Witkowski coming through here at the 11-mile marker, which would be second and third in that XC1 Pro class, and third and fourth and fifth overall.
So waiting on the rest of them to come through. But again, pivotal race for Stu. And I think not necessarily a must-win, but a must-maybe podium for him today. Here comes the rest of them.
Looking over his shoulder, Grant Davis going to take your second place overall and first place in that XC2 class, making it 2 wins in a row for your defending champion, Grant Davis. You can see struggling even just to getting out of the finish line chicanes. You know these guys are going to be happy to get off these machines and call it a day at the end of this one.
Yeah, congratulations to Grant. And that is a man absolutely spent after today's race. Grant getting himself rehydrated, and I can't believe I'm saying it, but maybe even a little frustrated after what will be a second place overall, a first place in the class. Any other race we'd be singing the praises. I think Grant maybe feels like he let this one get away. Maybe a mistake, got stuck out there. But nonetheless, from the outside looking in, an absolutely great day for Grant Davis.
Well, and it's going to be a good day in the points, too, for Grant Davis with an 8th place at round 1. Craig DeLong coming in. This will be your second place rider in XC1 and potentially third place overall. We'll see how close Gus Reardon is. Is he able to displace Craig DeLong and knock him off that overall podium? There's Witkowski. These guys, you got to imagine there's going to be some words exchanged in a good way between them. They've literally been glued to each other the entire race just about, and they're probably telling him now, hey, you're in the mix for the overall. You got second place in XC1, and we'll wait and see when Gus Reardon checks in. Have Craig DeLong and Mike Witkowski done enough to stay ahead of him in the overall? A big smile from Craig DeLong, and now here comes the 530 of Ben Kelly. Unfortunately, that means just behind him is Gus Reardon. Unfortunately for Craig DeLong, fortunately for Gus Reardon, oh, no Gus just yet. He was right behind Ben in that last camera shot. If he's able to get across the finish line, but time continuing to tick away, Craig DeLong may possibly have done enough. I did not see Ben Kelly checked in, and no Gus Reardon. We just saw him just a moment ago.
That's what I thought.
Right behind Ben Kelly, but now he's not checked in. Continue to refresh. I believe Craig DeLong has done enough and will be on the overall podium in that third place spot. There, Cody Barnes checks in, so that is your second place rider in XC2.
Did we miss him? Is he there transponder issues?
Unless there's transponder issues, but Cody Barnes checks in.
Oh, wait, is this?
That's
him right there.
There he is, so something happening to Gus Reardon in those final miles. Cody Barnes jumping up to second place overall, 2 minutes and 2 seconds behind second place in XC2. 2 minutes and 2 seconds behind Grant Davis, who's second place overall and wins that XC2 class. What a mix-up, what a shake-up. We'll give you the rundown here on screen, but we do now know that our podium in XC1 and XC2 are set, as well as our overall podium. And the overall podium will be Stu Baylor taking the win, Grant Davis from that XC2 class in second, and Craig DeLong rounding out the overall podium, second place in that XC1 class. Cody Barnes will be second in XC2, and Gus Reardon third in XC2, with Mike Witkowski third place in the XC1 class and fourth place overall.
Well, a sensational day for that man right there, Stu Baylor. He's down there talking about getting a cougar tattoo on his neck, I believe. Zach Herron standing by with the interview from your overall winner here today, Stu Baylor.
All right, guys, he is down here shaking hands, kissing babies, all the thing an XC1 winner does.
shaking and baking. Ladies and gentlemen, Stu Baylor. I think it's just fitting. Stu Baylor winning at the first ever Talladega GNCC. What a race. Came all the way down to the finish. Take us through how it happened.
Man, it was it was not easy. Obviously, going down in the first turn, not ideal. But, you know, I got back there and I was like, all right, kind of use it as the XC2 guys have and use these guys as markers, see where the bad spots are. I myself took a few bad lines and got hung up a few times on the way to the front, but I was wasting no time. I knew I wanted to be in the front, pushed everything I could, got there, got in control of the lead, and then had to go a lap without goggles. You know, when you don't have a goggle deal, it's scarce. We're buying them at Moto Tees, but yeah. So thanks to the guys at Moto Tees, they keep us hooked up every week. But yeah, it was that lap without goggles, and honestly, I know I passed Ryan with goggles 3 times, and I couldn't see him. It was too blurry, but pulled into the pits, got goggles, got new gloves, sprayed the seat off, and it was not a mile later. I ruined my gloves, ruined my goggles, trashed the seat, and I was just sliding all over the place and gave up a lot of time to Grant there. And I knew it was going to be really tough just to even catch him. And I in the back of my mind, I was honestly playing video back that I self-recorded of watching Nick DeFeo ride away from me at Georgia, and I was like, the kid was just riding. So I just started riding. That last lap, I honestly just started riding, tried to do what I could, and when I saw Grant, I was like, I got 3 miles to figure out how to put a minute on him, and I knew I gained a minute and 10 at that point to get to him, and I thought it would be near impossible, and it was, but luck of the draw, he went down in a mud hole. I knew his gloves and goggles would be ruined, and I did everything I could. I mean, I annihilated the last half of the course, just feet off, like wide ass open, and I made one big mistake, and I was like, I can't do that. Back to trail riding. Just thinking Nick DeFeo at Georgia or at South Carolina there, and just trying to trail ride. But yeah, shout out to the whole team. Shout out to the Red Bear, Rocky Mountain, Kawasaki, all the guys behind me. Ryan Sipes, he had so much faith that prior to the race, he said, if you don't win, I'm getting a tattoo. He said, if you don't win. Yeah, you heard that right. If you don't win. That's how much faith. I hope Holly's not listening because she would probably not be stoked. And I was going to have to tattoo him. I can hardly do any drawing. So would have looked rough. But I do think that we have a few other people getting tattoos if I won. Media boy back here is at 10-4 will be getting Donald Trump's signature on his chest tattooed. So all in all, great weekend. Hats off to the program. We busted our ass. I mean, I've probably put 40 hours on the bike in the last 2 weeks just trying to figure out what the hell is going on and how to fix it, and I think we finally did.
So Holly owes you a thank you. Carson's mom probably not going to be stoked, but it's at Dega, man. Is this one a little extra special? I mean, you guys went all out, the Ricky Bobby graphics kit. Man, I mean, we need a shake and bake or something. Come on, Stu.
I'm telling you, I thought I could coming in, and on that last lap, all I could think of is like, I'm going to win XC1, and Grant Davis is going to take home my trophy. It's time to fucking go, and that's what we did. So Talladega, we did it. We're going home. We're getting drunk tonight. We're having a hell of a party. This is awesome. I'm stoked. We had so much building up, leading up to this, and yeah, I'm ready to go celebrate with the guys.
There it is, Stu Baylor taking the inaugural Talladega GNCC win.
I still am throwing it out there, Stu Baylor. I want a cougar back piece tattoo on the back of Stu Baylor, man.
Mikey, you said it best. I mean, who else to win the inaugural
honestly,
Talladega race?
Yeah.
I mean, that is a man of the people, specifically a certain kind of people.
Yes.
It's awesome, man. I mean, you can tell how thrilled he is. I mean, a disaster of a dumpster fire the first 2 rounds for Stu Baylor. And to come back and grab the win here today, big points on the day, 30. And to do it in such a comeback fashion on that final lap of racing, you heard him say, you know, he saw Grant Davis up there, and he did not want Grant Davis to take home his trophy. Looks like we've got Jackson standing by with our XC2 winner and second place overall, Grant Davis.
Yeah, guys, I'm here with Grant Davis. Grant, your plastics, or not your plastics, your graphics hanging off, man. Your pants are ripped. You can tell you left it all out there on the track. Take us through it.
Yeah, you know, I got off to the whole shot and was just leading. I was just got in a really good flow, got to the back of the XC1 pack, and started picking them off pretty fast. And then I got to Stu and Ricky, and I'm like thinking to myself, doing the math in my head, I'm like, these are the only 2 XC1 riders in front of me right now. So I got around Stu, he made a mistake, and then me and Ricky rode together for a while, and then I finally got around him and just put the hammer down and tried to pull away. And I think I got a pit board saying I was 2 minutes up, and I was like, all right, just cruising in. My bike started running bad. And then at the 4-mile marker last lap, my bike shut off on me for like a minute and a half. And I looked back, and Stu's right there, and I just kept going, and he got around me, and I just latched onto him. And then it quit again on me again for like another 2 minutes, and I'm like, come on, go. But hey, I'm happy with first in my class and second overall, and I extended my points lead, and I'm right there for the overall championship now.
All right, guys, that's Grant Davis, your second overall.
You know, it's interesting. Grant Davis, very good perspective, mature perspective right there. I think he could have really, man, I didn't get the OA. He said it at the banquet. I want to win an overall from XC2. We kind of laughed and scoffed at him, like, yeah, okay, man, that's a pretty big goal. 3 rounds in, he's in the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Looks like we've got some more riders now checking in. I think that may be, so that is Chase Landers coming across the line for what looks like it will be a top 10 overall here. You can see him revving that machine out. And eighth place overall for Chase Landers. And it looks like we do have our second place XC1 rider and third place overall standing by with Jackson Burrell, Craig DeLong.
Yeah, guys, I'm here with Craig DeLong. Craig, third place overall, second place in the XC1 class. Take us through your day.
That was nasty, man. Good start for sure. That was key. I was following my buddy Liam out there first lap, and it was fun.
How you feel going into the next round?
I'm good. I'm ready to go, and that's the momentum that I needed for sure to get going. I struggled the first couple of races, as you know, if nobody can, you know, if you look back and see, you can you find that out. So happy to get on the podium for one, but happy to put myself in that battle and put myself in the lead group.
All right, turning things around, guys. That's Craig DeLong.
All right, guys, some updates a little bit further back. Some of the top runners from our last round have now checked in. So we knew Ben Kelly checked in. And then, Mikey, you and I were looking at scoring and wondering what was going on. We did not have any riders check in for 7 minutes. Obviously, a massive bottleneck and some challenges out there. The first rider to check in, then Liam Draper, 7 minutes and 1 second behind Ben Kelly. Then Caleb Russell, Johnny Gerard. Still no Nick DeFeo checked in. And obviously, we saw our 250A winner, Chase Landers, check in, jump up the standings into that 8th place overall position.
And it sounds like Jackson Burrell standing by with our third in the XC1, Mike Wachowski.
Yeah, guys, I'm here with Mike Wachowski. Mike, you got the number 8 up on the XC1 podium. Take us through your day.
Yeah, I mean, crashing the first turn, and then just was a dual day. I just played it smart, honestly. Just picked guys off where I could. Try to pick good lines. Once I got into a flow, maybe mid-race, just found myself at the front, really. And, yeah, there at the end, me and Craig linked up and just basically back and forth for the last couple laps. And unfortunately, I buried it with maybe a mile to go, and he got away. But then, yeah, I mean, we were still close. I'm happy with third and good points for the weekend. I'm just honestly stoked with this. Just with falling in the first corner and then coming up to third and right on second, so we'll take it.
One more question for you. How you feel going into round number 4?
Yeah, I'm excited. I hope we can have just a normal weekend with the weather. It's been tough on us, so yeah, we'll have a good 3 weeks and come into this next one ready.
All right, guys, that's Mike Wachowski.
All right, Mike Wachowski, another XC1 podium. This one much higher in the overall, 4th place overall. And I did get an update from out on track. Sean Remington, one of our morning racers, Shotgun Sean Remington, says Nick DeFeo not out of fuel. So it does not sound like he will be finishing this race at all, which will be a big shakeup in the overall point standings and also that XC2 ranks.
You know, that was something, we're going to take a look at that specialized race recap here, but that was something Jordan Ashburn had mentioned off air. Much diversity as we've had in the finishes with the XC2. It allows a lot of guys to be in the mix as far as the championship is concerned. Well, a rainy day at the Talladega GNCC. Liam Draper snagging the hole shot in this one for the XC1 class. And that XC2 is Grant Davis, the number 1 right there, side by side with the 246. Man, by the angle I had, it sure looked like Grant Davis. I don't know who got credited with it, but from my angle, it was Grant. That angle looked more like T-Rex. And as this one wore on, Johnny, this was just like the war of attrition, you versus the track. And this was the day that I think probably the majority of our A and B riders had.
Yeah, well, that was actually Ryder Lafferty.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
one of
so
our top XC1
Ryder.
riders. Ricky Russell riding phenomenally in the early parts of this one on that Triumph. But Grant Davis straight to the front, not only of that XC2 class, but getting very quickly to the front physically of the overall race, and then pursued by Nick DeFeo, and then ultimately it was Stu Baylor who was really putting in the charge and refused to let Grant Davis get away in the end. But early on, it was the Grant Davis and Nick DeFeo show, with Josh Toth very much up in the mix as well. Those two were dominating the top 3 positions from that XC2 class in the overall.
They were, and we talk about it. I mean, it looked like it was going to be a similar day to what we had at the Big Buck GNCC, but that man right there just would not be denied. The 514 of Stu Baylor, and it was interesting, his post-race comments actually drawing some inspiration from Nick DeFeo. He said, I just thought about him charging and put my head down and rode his race. It's interesting. It's like feast or famine for the team. You have Stu, who will come away today with the win, and his 2 XC2 guys DNFs.
Yeah, absolutely. And interesting what Stu said there as he comes around, getting ever so close to the finish. You can see everybody cheering him on. This was the final corner. You paraphrased there a little bit, Mikey. What he actually said was, I watched Nick DeFeo just riding away from me.
Yeah, good point.
And it's, when you try to push it, sometimes those mistakes come. And he was able to just find that happy balance of going fast enough to make the time, but not making the big mistakes. And you see your top 10 overall on screen. Give him a rundown, Mikey.
Yeah, so Baylor, Davis, and DeLong 1, 2, and 3, and then Mike Wachowski just off of the box as far as the overall. Cody Barnes, Angus Reardon, Ben Kelly, another really, all things considered, solid points day for him. Chase Landers, great ride out of the amateur ranks. And then Liam Draper and Caleb Russell kind of quietly rounding out your top 10 here today. Johnny, this is we're 3 rounds into it. We normally start to get a look of how the season's going to look after this round. Throw that out the window. I don't think we have any clue how this season is going to end up after 3. The big takeaway for me, I'll go first, Stu Baylor's still alive. I think this was a pivotal race for him. I think maybe not necessarily a must-win, but it was a must-podium and a must-finish in front of a few certain guys, and he did that today.
Absolutely. I think that was a great assessment on Stu Baylor. We talked about it before the show and even during the show. You can't, in a 13-round series, you can't come away from the first 3 rounds without some significant points. There's no points more significant than 30. That's what you get for a win, and that's what Stu Baylor did today. For me, I think the big takeaway is 2 treacherous mud races in the first 3 rounds. Absolute chaos. And when you look at the mix-up at the top of the standings, you can see just exactly that. So maybe when we get to round 4, things will start to sort themselves out. But if you're a fan at home and you like watching some wild racing action, tune in, because there may be more of it ahead.
Yeah.
That's my takeaway for the day.
Please, Mother Nature, play nice to us at Camp Coker. But yeah, this was a great race. Congratulations to Stu Baylor. Taking a look at our upcoming broadcast. Again, as we'd mentioned, Camp Coker will be back in South Carolina for more GNCC at the end of March. And then we've got the Old Gray up in Tennessee for round number 5 there in about mid-April for both the ATVs and the bike side. But that is going to wrap things up for us today. On behalf of Jackson Burrell, Zach Herron, and Johnny Gallagher, our camera operators, Mike, Matt, Josh, Adam, Leah, Kirsten, Jack, and Cameron. Our drone operator, who had to fill in for us this weekend as a camera operator, Gabe Scholl. Our manager, Dan Reinhart. Engineer in charge, Jordan McFadden. Our director, Don Hampton. Our producer, Adam Gordon. And our executive producer is Carrie Jo Russell. I'm Mikey Waynes, and you've been watching GNCC on RacerTV.com.